You're watching Fox 9 All Day.
And thank you for being with us here on Fox 9 All Day Live. We want to start with some major developing news right now in Elk River. So let's take you there via the chopper. The Anoka County Sheriff's Office confirming to Fox 9 that a large search at this landfill is underway, and this, they say, is related to the disappearance of 16-year-old Jordan Manny Collins. So the chopper at this scene here within this hour, crews, as you can see, they've just been digging through the rubble. And then we've also seen them taking some of that and sorting it out on tables. You can see some of the machinery there that's also been digging into those piles. Dozens of people have been at this scene. And again, the sheriff's office telling us that officers from Columbia Heights, they've got Anoka County, the BCA, the FBI, they are all on scene right now. So we're keeping a close eye here on any more details. We know, though, that Manny went missing. It was, nearly a month ago now in Columbia Heights. It was the corner of 49th and University Avenue. And at the time of his disappearance, he was temporarily staying with his father in that area. People in that area, law enforcement have asked them, check your cameras, check your yards to see if there may be something there that could be helpful in putting the pieces together in this. You also may remember that Manny's mother, Ashley Berry, along with law enforcement, about 2.5 weeks ago, took to the podium, and we took it live here on All Day, and we watched as his mother, so heartbroken and just so desperate for answers, was pleading for anybody to come forward with any information that they may have. At the time, when asked, law enforcement said they weren't naming a suspect, but they were talking to people, and they were also pleading at the time for Manny's father to come forward with any information, because at the time Manny's mother said that he was not necessarily cooperating with law enforcement. So a lot of different sort of layers to this have happened over the course of the last couple of weeks. Investigators and family have said from the get-go they believe that Manny was somewhere against his will. So again, no arrests, no charges have been made in this case. Our Karen Scullin did have the chance to sit down, though, with Manny's mom earlier this week. So we're going to stay, and stay with some of this search, but we also wanted to just play you some of that interview with Ashley Berry. This is Manny's mom just a couple of days ago.
Do you think he is okay?
No. It's hard. It is for me to say that I don't think he is.
Physically, you think he's not okay?
I don't think he is physically. I don't. I think other people know that as well. Yeah.
Last week, it seemed like the family was really hopeful that he was somewhere and physically okay. That has changed, it sounds like.
For me, yeah, that's changed. I don't know what everyone else is thinking, but of course they want me to hope for the best and just, he's just somewhere hiding out, but I don't feel that way.
You had mentioned that they had gotten some stuff, because we were out there actually last week when they were pulling some additional stuff out of the apartment. So they found quite a bit of things that you said were concerning, or can you describe that? Not specifically, but just you can tell me, if you could tell me that again.
Yeah, it's a few things they found. Well, they went there the first time that was concerning, and that stuff came back. So they went back and got more stuff, a lot more stuff. That's also concerning. Yeah.
And because these investigations are obviously so delicate, there was a lot that law enforcement was asked that day, and a lot that they could not talk about. And as you kind of heard from Manny's mom right there were things that were not released during the course of the investigation that maybe family members are aware of. And it went from the early days of this, from even Manny's uncle, the brother of the father that we're talking about, saying, I don't believe that Manny is in any physical harm, to then just cut to about a week later as Karen was talking to his mother, and things had changed at that point. We don't have any other specifics, any other details, other than to say that it was confirmed here just within the last couple of hours or so that the Anoka County Sheriff's Office is out there at the scene that you're taking a look at. It's a landfill in Elk River. And this search, they say, is related to the disappearance of 16-year-old Jordan Collins, otherwise well known as Manny. So again, these crews have been out there. We've seen them do some different things as far as just walking in the area very meticulously, taking pieces of things and putting them on tables to be sorted through. And it's the BCA who's out there, Anoka County, Columbia Heights PD, who obviously that's where all of this originated, and then the FBI who are on scene right now. We're going to continue to keep an eye on this and bring you any more details. Our Rob Olson should be nearby now. He was on his way out there just a short time ago, and we'll get the very latest from the ground, and then also what we're hearing from law enforcement and perhaps family as well. So we'll keep you up to date on that. All right, let's switch gears here to another story that's just sort of developing here in the last 30 minutes, really. We just got word on a special session. It's the news that a lot of people have been waiting for. This is a letter that went out from the governor here just within the past hour that a special session is going to happen Monday morning, 10 a.m. And do we have Corin to chat with? Yeah, we do. Okay, thanks. Corin, let's bring you in here. So tell us about, you got a little bit of a heads up that to kind of watch your computer, and then we now have the news everybody's been waiting for.
Yeah, when the whispers start to get loud, that's kind of what happened here today. I was hearing from the very beginning of the day to expect some kind of an announcement, and there was really only one thing we're all waiting for here. So that special session was announced, and I got the agreement just a little bit before the press conference went out, and it's pretty interesting because it definitely can show us some things, even though it doesn't tell us what's in all of these bills. There are now 14 bills listed here. 13 of them have gone to the revisor's office, the people who draft all these bills. And so apparently they're already written. That includes one that's a standalone modifying Minnesota Care for Undocumented Adults bill. And then there's one standalone bill for data centers that has not been drafted yet. So they're limiting it to these 14 bills. We don't exactly know what's in all of them. Some of them have been generated and made public through the working groups that they've been doing for the last, it's been 3 weeks since the regular session ended. So we have some of that information. There's also a capital investment bill. We were told, I think it was early this week, that there wouldn't be a capital investment bill, but it looks like they will be doing that. And that's, where they borrow money to kind of do infrastructure all around the state. That's something that Senate Republicans wanted. And, they hadn't really been involved in a lot of these negotiations, but their votes will be key on a couple of these bills. And it looks like maybe they did get some concessions as far as a capital investment bill goes.
Okay. Can you kind of, I want to take you back to the standalone bills, specifically the MinCare for Undocumented Adults. Can you sort of explain, like, just government 101, what it means when there's a standalone bill? Why did we get there, and kind of where we go from here, specifically on that one?
Sure. Normally that would have been part of the health bill, but just kind of breaking down the politics of it, a lot of times the health bill does not get support from Republicans. And if it also included removing undocumented adults from MinCare, it would lose a bunch of Democrats' votes. So the health bill would be dead, essentially. The one way to make sure that both of those things can pass is taking the undocumented portion out of the health bill. Now it can pass on Democrat votes, and then having it as a standalone. You have the leaders who have agreed to pass this bill, which removes all undocumented adults from MNCare. That's not popular among Democrats at all, but with a tied House, you need one vote from the Democrats. And same really in the Senate. It's not tied, but there's a one vote majority. And if one person flips from DFL and votes for the bill, then it passes. And so the leaders have signed this agreement, and, talking to them over the last few weeks, they basically intend to make their votes the one from their party that makes this pass. So the undocumented adults would be cut out of MNCare, and Speaker Emerita Hortman would be the vote in the House, and Majority Leader Murphy would be the vote in the Senate to make sure that gets through. Now, there were kind of concerns among Republicans, because there have been trust issues here between the parties.
Sure.
That the Democrats, either in the House or the Senate, or potentially Governor Walz, would go back on their word at the last second. And so we're expecting some kind of element in there that makes this this standalone bill that would take undocumented immigrants off of MNCare. There has to be something in it that makes it so that the Democrats absolutely want to make sure it passes. So there's going to be funding for something else in there. That's kind of the reverse of a poison pill.
Gotcha. Yep, that's what the dance is all about, right, Corin? Just even yesterday, it was kind of surprising, I think, for folks. We had sheriffs and attorneys from across the state who were rallying at the Capitol, kind of an 11th hour cry for help, because they say that there's just not enough beds to sort of support the mental health services here in Minnesota, which is something I think we've known for years. People might be surprised to say, well, boy, that seems like kind of a late ask. And do you happen to know? I know you don't know a lot of the details. Did that get any movement, or was that in a bonding bill that didn't even get looked at?
I think that would have gone in the Human Services bill, most likely. And they had their working group meeting yesterday, and I don't think it changed significantly. So I do not believe that's going to be something that gets addressed here in 2025.
Okay. All right, so the latest is, again, if you're just joining us, the special session, you can see it right there, is on Monday morning, and talk a little bit about the why that day was important for not only lawmakers but obviously a lot of Minnesotans.
Yeah, unfortunately, because it's on the 9th, they still have to hand out layoff notices or furlough.
Those are still going out?
Yep.
Okay.
Because that's the day it has to go out. However, I think that all the state employees who get those notices on Monday can probably feel pretty assured that they will not be furloughed, considering that the special session will be underway while they're getting these notices. And it's supposed to be a one-day session. It should wrap up, like, one day in legislative time is 7 a.m. to 7 a.m.
Yep.
So it has to be done basically by Tuesday the 10th at 7 a.m. Don't know if it'll last that long. Hopefully it won't, but it could. But they should know by 7 a.m. Tuesday for sure that everything's done and their jobs are safe. But unfortunately, that's 20,000 plus folks who are going to get furlough notices on Monday.
Yeah, okay. But the good news is it looks like they won't be needing them. So last thing I want to ask you just really quickly is just kind of, as somebody who sort of a Capitol insider, you're somebody, walking the halls, getting the scuttlebutt. What were relationships like during these negotiations and during the session, really? Kind of a unique start to the session, and then how did it all sort of play out?
I can tell you for sure, like, the leaders seem to have a level of trust between each other. The members don't necessarily feel the same way. The way that last year's session ended kind of dismantled any trust that they had. There was kind of this DFL rush to get everything done, this super mecha omnibus bill that they ended up passing with everything in one bill, which whether or not that's constitutional is still a question. But that kind of eroded any trust that members had here. I think that even some of the guys that I know of that are, fairly willing to cross the aisle had doubts about whether things would be able to work out between the two parties. But I can also say, that this 3 weeks between sessions has looked pretty good in most cases. And it seems like maybe some of that trust is built back up. They don't agree on everything, but it may be that, the way they went about things throughout the session and through this time between sessions might rebuild some of it at least.
Okay, well, you sure hope so. Yeah, it got off to a really rocky start, and I think everybody was like, "What is this going to look like?" It's I guess it's promising that they were able to get this done. So 1 day special session Monday, 7 to 7, and we'll see what happens. Maybe we can check back in with you in just a little bit here, maybe the next hour or so, if you're not too busy.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be manning the texts and trying to get some comment from legislators and especially the leaders, but they don't seem to want to talk right now, which is weird because they've got this big achievement. I would think
they want a victory lap here, but but also I think it's Friday and probably want to get on with their weekend plans as well. So, well, if you get anybody, we'll definitely chat with you a little bit later and get some reaction from you as well. Appreciate the update. Thank you.
No problem.
See you in a bit. All right, Cornhager at the Capitol for us. Okay, so again, we're following quite a few developing stories today. And let's see, Amber, do we want to talk about the Thompson verdict? Okay, we're on verdict watch still in this trial. So the jury deliberations did pick back up. It was about 11 o'clock this morning in the trial of Derrick Thompson. He is the man who was charged in that deadly high-speed crash that killed 5 women in Minneapolis, ages 17 to 20, very young women. He faces 15 counts, including third-degree murder, criminal vehicular homicide. Closing arguments wrapped up yesterday, and so the case now in the hands of the jury, and it went to them at about 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon, and then the defense didn't call any witnesses. So the trial has gone relatively quickly, comparatively. I mean, there were 5 victims, but the defense not calling a single witness. The prosecution called a surprise witness at the very end, which was the brother of Derrick Thompson, because the defense was trying to pin the blame on Derrick Thompson's brother, saying that he was the one in the vehicle and not Derrick. So that's kind of where we left things, and now the jury has it in their hands, and we'll continue to just keep an eye on that and just listen and watch, and we'll bring it to you as soon as that comes in. There's really no way of knowing when that may happen. But again, they just started deliberating again here at 11, so just about an hour or so ago. Okay, let's get in one more quick thing, just a bit of a heads up here for folks, something to be aware of if you're heading into the weekend here, maybe in Minneapolis. They are boosting those safety measures at Boom Island Park. So they put a mobile camera out there on Monday, and they're going to put increased patrols out there as well. Also, in addition to that, they're going to start putting park police out at Boom Island Park from 8 o'clock at night until midnight, and that starts tonight, and it's going to run through, it's a Sunday, June 22nd. So this, they say, is going to buy the park board just a little bit more time to kind of assess park board safety and still allow people to gather in the meantime. This is all stemming from last Sunday night. You might remember 6 people were shot at Boom Island Park. There was a woman who died. In 2022, I was reading something about the park board installing a gate at the entrance of Boom Island Park for security, and then of course on Monday they put up that mobile camera. So this definitely back in the headlines. But since January of 2024. Aside from this past weekend, Boom Island Park had really no serious reported violent crimes there. There was one reported robbery of someone in October of 2024, but other than that, it's been very quiet and a safe place to go. So officials want to keep it that way until they can figure out some more security measures there. Again, this is that park sort of along the Mississippi River in northeast Minneapolis, if you're not aware of that. So. All right, do we want to take a quick break and reset a little bit? Okay, sounds good. All right, so we're going to take a quick break. Before that, we'll hit a little weather forecast here for you. And then on the other side of this very quick break, we're going to talk to our Rob Olson, who has been making his way to the scene in Elk River, to a landfill there where the Anoka County Sheriff's Office is confirming that there is a large search related to the disappearance of 16-year-old Manny Collins. So stay with us. All Day Live is here with you throughout the afternoon. We'll be right back after this.
The showers from this morning are slowly going to be moving on out here as we head in the early afternoons. We may just have that stray drip kind of passing on by here and there. Really not expecting a whole lot throughout the afternoon, and clouds will slowly start to break up and we'll filter in some more sunshine before we finish out the day. Heading up north, looks very pleasant this evening. Most of us will be in the 60s to finish out the day. Pleasant tomorrow morning here Saturday morning with your Futurecast outlook. Tomorrow afternoon, a few pop-up rumbles, occasional shower out there. It won't be a washout, but there may just be a couple interruptions on the radar. Most of the state will have a shot as a cold front sweeps across the area late Saturday night into Sunday morning for showers and thunderstorms to stroll on through. There's 9 a.m. on Sunday, passing quickly into Wisconsin, and behind it we'll have a little bit of a breeze. Temperatures this afternoon will hit near 70, where tomorrow mid-70s on your Saturday forecast, your Sunday forecast 72. Showers and thunderstorms early, a break, and then parts of northern Minnesota may have a few showers. Comfortable weekend overall, far from being hot, but there will be a breeze on Sunday that will slowly pick up out of the west and northwest. 71 today. Got the showers tapering off here, maybe a stray drip or two over the next couple of hours, but really leaning toward this kind of moving on out. Saturday forecast, afternoon, evening hours, may have that stray drip, couple rumbles out there, 75. As we head towards Sunday, early in the morning, showers and thunderstorms, a break, and then parts of the area may see a stray shower, stray drip. Most of Sunday afternoon will stay dry, a little bit breezy. Comfortable, 60s on Monday. May have that haze back in the area. A dry Tuesday with sunshine, 76. And then we're heading into the 80s. If I was going to add day 8, 9, 10, still leaning towards some lower to mid 80s in the forecast. All day continues after this.
You're watching Fox 9 All Day.
And thank you for being with us here on All Day Live. It's 12:24 on this Friday afternoon, following a lot of developing headlines here and news stories that we're just going to kind of keep cycling through as new information continues to come in. Our Rob Olson, we're going to check in with him in just a minute. He is in Elk River, where there's a large search at a landfill there, and we've been told by law enforcement that it is related to the disappearance of 16-year-old Manny Collins. So we're going to take you out there in just a minute. While we're waiting for Rob to get set up, I just wanted to roll through a couple of regional headlines as well. Let's start in St. Cloud. Oh, you know what? Do we want to do this, Amber? I'm so sorry. We were going to do this. Oh, this is the story. Okay, I thought this was a different thing. Okay, so this is in the St. Cloud area. A story that we kind of got a word on a little bit ago, but nothing confirmed.
Well, we got word on at like 9 a.m. this morning.
But we have
been waiting all morning for information.
Okay.
So Justin from officials, we're hearing 26 people had to be taken to the hospital this morning at about 8:15 from the Pilgrim's Chicken plant in Cold Spring because there was an acid spilled, a container of parasitic acid. I'm not sure what that is.
Okay.
The spill was contained inside the facility, according to officials. The officer on duty was notified. The building had been evacuated shortly after the spill, it sounds like. Lots of people assessed there. Again, 26 taken to the hospital. We're told minor injuries, Amy, so that's good. Our photographer did manage to get to the scene at Pilgrim's Pride plant there and said it looked all quiet by the time he got there. So.
Okay, and just no other details as far as extent of what type of injuries, whether it's inhalation or.
I'm just told minor.
Minor.
That's all I've got.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. We'll have video on that in a little bit.
We'll have like scene video,
video?
Like I said, the scene was pretty much cleared by the time our photographer got there, so not really much of a scene to show anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hang on a second. I'm just gonna parasitic acid. I'm just gonna see if I can get here we go. It's a colorless, pungent, liquid organic acid with a strong oxidizing potential. It's a versatile disinfectant and bleaching agent used in many industries. So. Okay, so that's
probably cleaning like machinery or something there in the
seems
plant.
like. Okay, all right, sounds good.
Couple more regional stories you want to roll through?
Yeah. Why don't
I've got Rob on the line, ready to go as soon as we're done. So.
Okay, yep. Let me run through these two. Is it Duluth next? Is that the one we have?
Mankato.
Oh, okay. I'm out of order here. Okay.
Here, I can help.
Do you want to? Thank you.
So Mankato, $5 million, $5 million grant to help repair all the damage around the Rapidan Dam.
Oh.
You can roll this video, Hannah. Remember this? I mean, just it was just incredible.
Unforgettable.
Last year.
Yep.
And almost exactly a year ago when this happened, Blue Earth River obviously flooded down there. Essentially took out the dam, took out the banks, took out that house. It's still sitting there. The part of it is right in this video, but not anymore. In the Rapidan Dam store, as people know. So $5 million there. Construction is supposed to start happening in 2027. Big time demolition is there for the rebuild, and then all work should be done end of 2028.
Okay. Sounds good. Why don't we table the other couple of stories here, and then let's get right to Rob and just check in with him. I know he probably just got there not too long ago, but as soon as we can, we'll pop him up and kind of see where things are at. But again, just to remind you, if you're just joining us, we've been covering this major developing news in Elk River. That is where the Anoka County Sheriff's Office has confirmed to us that there has been this large search that is still going on right now at a landfill. And they say that it is related to the disappearance of 16-year-old Jordan Collins, otherwise known by many as Manny. We had the chopper up just a bit ago. We showed you some of that video, but our Rob Olson, I think, just arrived, and there he is. Okay, Rob, I know, fresh. You just got there. Just walk us through kind of what you're seeing.
Not much, actually. We're not allowed on the property of the landfill, which is over there across the freeway. I mean, you can see the tops of it. Law enforcement and the landfill property owners, they don't want us even outside the gate on the other side of the freeway there. Hang on, I got to let a truck by. Pretty busy up here. So from this vantage point, you can't even see, you can see the peak of the hill back there where the landfill is, but we can't see any searching from this vantage point either. I think the best view is probably from the chopper video, which you said you've seen.
Yeah,
so no signs of activity here, just some law enforcement that have come down to say that we can't be over there.
Okay.
So in terms of where the search is at and how much longer it may go, it's really hard to discern from where we're at, except that seriously, this is something obviously that is something they're taking very seriously. I see the chopper video there. Yeah. And that is the best view of it. We cannot see that from this vantage point. It's a very large area, and it's really hard to get a point in the geography around here where we have a view of anything.
And just sort of to really pull out, Elk River is sort of, many people may not know where exactly it is, but we're close to the Twin Cities here.
Yeah, we just came up north on 169. This is a huge real estate area up here, so a lot of land up here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so really, we just know that the Anoka County Sheriff and Columbia Heights Police and the BCA and some other assisting agencies are conducting a search here related to the disappearance of Manny Collins, who was last seen close to a month ago.
Yeah.
So it's been a huge mystery. The police say they've had a person of interest that they've not named, but beyond that, again, they're looking for anything they can, and clearly this is a big development in that potentially. We'll see what they say when they're done with the search.
Okay. Yeah, we'll let you go. I know how it is when you kind of arrive on one of those scenes and you're that far away. And so, if and when you're able to get any information, we'll definitely check back in with you. We've obviously got our newsroom working, other sources as well. And so we'll continue to just, bring folks the latest. But we appreciate you, checking in, and maybe we can chat with you in just a little bit. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it. Okay, so we'll continue to go back to that scene. Our chopper has left the area, so what you were looking at right there was just a little bit of video from just within the last 20 to 30 minutes or so, but we'll continue to stay on this as we await word on what may be found or going on there. Okay, let's see. Do you want me to run through a couple of the other? Okay, sounds good. Yes. Okay, let's do that. So, we're going to take another break really quickly. When we come back on the other side of the break, we're going to check in with our Lauren Andrego, who is out in Edina, ahead of what many believe is sort of the OG of art fairs out there. So we'll talk to her. And as we go to break, we want to bring you some of the, say that again, Amber, sorry. Oh, okay. This is a D-Day ceremony in Norway where we have some U.S. officials there, and we just wanted to bring you some of that ceremony as we go to break.
Municipality of Colleville-sur-Mer, représentant la municipalité de Colleville-sur-Mer.
watching Fox 9 all day.
And welcome back to All Day Live. It is 12:36 on this Friday. Thanks for being with us today. It's art fair season, and there's a big one that's happening. The Edina Art Fair is taking over 50th in France, and it all gets underway this afternoon. So our Lauren Andrago, you've been out there. I've seen a couple of your hits out there. It looks like so much fun, and it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a really big deal, bigger than I thought, Amy. I've been to this art fair before. I did not know it's been going on for 58 years here on 50th in France. That's where I am right now. I'm literally in the middle of the intersection because it is closed for cars right now. There are hundreds of booths lining both roads for the Edina Art Fair. It starts today at 3. It used to start at noon, and I think a lot of people thought it started at noon today, so that's why there are people out and about now. I think they'll make some early sales with you if you're nice enough. I want to show you some of the booths because there's really stuff for every medium, something for everyone. Look how cute this is. Pro hockey arenas across the country. Father's Day is coming up, and I know there's someone out there who needs to get something for dad. That might be a great option. Another option is right here, Randall Peterson Designs. I just met Randall. He's from Forest Lake, and he specializes in pointillism. Now, if you don't remember from junior high art class, I needed a reminder. Pointillism is where he just uses little tiny dots. This is the St. Paul Cathedral, just made of little tiny dots. If you zoom in really close, you can kind of see. Anyway, maybe with the iPhone you can't. He's another artist that you can shop from. You can meet the artists here on 50th in France, ask them questions. So it's not just like going to an art boutique. You're going to a fair and meeting the artists of the art that you're putting on the wall. Here's another set of paintings right here. This is a guy named Evan, and this is Rebecca Sorensen from the 50th in France Business Association. We've been hanging out here. Thank you for having us. This has grown massively, I think, since I was here this morning.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about
Things are coming alive.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
It's competitive to get into this art fair.
We were just talking about that. We had 600 people apply for 250 spots, so it's super competitive.
Wow.
So we really we have a blind jury, so they go through and they select, and they don't know who these artists are. It could be like their 50th time, or it could be that they've never done it before. Everyone gets a shot, and then we pick the 250, and it's hard because you have to send out the rejection letters too.
For sure.
But it's been amazing to see them all here, like the ones that were chosen.
Totally.
I think the jurors did a very good job.
You're left with just the best of the best, and there are some new artists here too.
Yeah, there's some emerging artists. So these are like first-time artists. So that's a partnership with MCAD, which is, of course, an amazing arts education institution here, and some other student artists that just got in the show for the first time. And
great.
It's been nice. Yeah, we have a good partnership with US Bank sponsoring that. So it's been fun to see them. They don't have to pay anything to be in.
Oh, fantastic. That is a good note. It's free to come to attend here, and there's lots of new stuff to do, not just art. If you head down here, the culinary market.
Yeah, there's a new culinary market. So this is where you can sample food, different drinks, all kinds of it's everything from like artisan olive oils and nuts and maple syrup and honey, and even like Broder's is here with their homemade tomato sauce.
Ooh.
So all that kind of good stuff too. And you can sample, of course, everything.
Some Broder's pasta bar, amazing. And there's a beer garden this year.
There's a beer garden in there, right in that culinary market. You can go to the beer garden. There's going to be some live music. We also have another beer garden in the Lens parking lot, and that's done by Mr. Paul's Supper Club.
Oh,
so they're doing like craft cocktails and margaritas. And
oh my gosh,
that's going to be pretty fun too.
And not to mention, all the businesses and restaurants around the 50th in France area are open.
Thank you for mentioning that. We have some of the best restaurants in the Twin Cities, and they have gorgeous patios. They have special art fair deals, so you can get your drinks, sit down, enjoy, be surrounded by art and people and activity, and it's just kind of a great place to be,
What do you think makes this art fair special? There are so many that go on throughout the Twin Cities and really across the country, but this is one of the top rated ones, and it looks like there's really something for everybody.
There is,
here.
we make sure it's art forward, but there's an experience part of it too. So that's where our culinary market, our kids zone, where there are tons of kids activities. We have, of course, like the beer gardens and the live music. But we really love that people are here to look at the art.
Yeah.
They're very much into art buying. So that's kind of special. I feel like our artists feel the love and they get it right back,
I love that. Rebecca, thank you so much for for your time.
My
Good luck
pleasure.
this weekend. It's going to
Thank
be
you.
a busy. Oh wait,
Yes.
actually,
Yeah.
let's talk about parking because there's a lot of road construction going on all over Edina. 62, it's a little bit slow. I'm not going to lie, but all the roads around here are passable, and you have a lot of really great
we are in a
parking
much better
options.
spot than last summer.
Yeah.
If anyone can remember, thank you, Fox, for all your coverage of that last year. But we are back. We have whatever, the 100, there's the bridge project by City Hall, but that's just, there are tons of detours to bring you right here. There's parking all around this district. So people may not realize that, but there are 4 parking lots that are, or ramps, I'm sorry, that are huge with free parking. So all the parking around here is free. Plus on Saturday and Sunday, you can park at City Hall and take a free shuttle that brings you directly into the art fair.
Those shuttles are the way to go.
They're the way to go. I think that's it. They're air conditioned, lovely. Although I will say the temperatures are very nice right now.
It is amazing. I know
Yeah.
where the skies look a little bit scary. I see some tents have their walls down, but it looks like it's going to hold off and be really beautiful this
They
weekend.
said, and by 3 o'clock, it's supposed to be magical. So
Crossing our fingers
crossed.
for that. It's going to be magical no matter what the weather is around here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rebecca, thank you so much. So great to see you.
You too.
Have
Thank
fun
you.
this weekend. Things kick off at 3 o'clock, Amy. They go through the weekend. Again, it's free to attend. And look, like, don't you have someone in your life who needs this little mixed media canoe shot? How adorable is
my
that?
goodness.
There's something for everybody. Need a Father's Day gift, you're going to find it here.
Oh, yesterday the farmers market, now today the art fair. I mean, I don't know. I'd spend all my money.
I'm going to lose all my money. Good thing we got paid today.
All right, thank you, Lauren. Appreciate it very much. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Okay, bye. All right, let's take a quick break and come back again. We're following quite a few developing news stories today, big news stories, and we'll catch you up on all of that. Plus, I think we've got Pierre Nugent on the line to talk some basketball as well. Did you see that game last night? My goodness sakes. All right, All Day Live continues right after this. Stay with us.
You're watching Fox 9 all day.
All right, welcome back to All Day Live. It's 12:45. Thanks for being with us on this Friday. I don't know if you, as a maybe Timberwolves fan, were able to watch the NBA Finals that got underway last night. Maybe enough time has passed where you were like, okay, I can do this. Wow, what a game. Let's bring in Fox 9 Sports' Pierre Nugent to talk a little bit about this. So set it up for those who didn't get a chance to see it. A decent game, and then it turned just phenomenal. Oh, Pierre. It's okay. I know.
That's my
it's
fault.
always something.
That's my fault. Yeah, that's my fault.
It's okay. It's all right, Pierre.
It feels like you've been watching the same game for the Indiana Pacers the entire postseason. It's like they look dead in the water, particularly in game ones. And then suddenly, out of the blue, like the Undertaker rising out of the casket meme online, you leave them for dead, but here they are. They somehow find a way to get the job done. And this is what they've done the entire postseason. All the talk going into this finals was how much of an underdog Indiana was going to be. And while I do consider them an underdog in the series, and I still consider them the underdog, even though they dropped game one, the talk of, the margin of separation between these two teams that was discussed, particularly by the betting analysts out there, I thought was ludicrous. I thought it was absolutely ludicrous. I didn't see a ton of separation between the two things. Granted, Oklahoma City is a much better defensive team than Indiana, but Indiana is a team that can score with the best of them. So it was a little bit of a unstoppable force, immovable object type of matchup when you're looking at Indiana's offense versus Oklahoma City's defense. But I mean, credit to Indiana. This is a team that they have a team of destiny feel to them right now.
They really do.
And it's, I was talking with Jim Rich about this, and I mentioned this to other people. I thought before the series started, I said, this is going to probably be the lowest rated NBA Finals of all time, but the basketball is going to be great. It's a good matchup. It's going to be a solid chess matchup between these two teams. We saw that in game one.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess watching it through the perspective of a Timberwolves fan, if I could ask you this, and this is, I know nothing about nothing, right? I'm just a fan. As I'm watching that game and I'm seeing, the Pacers kind of not struggling, but they just couldn't really catch up. Second half comes around, particularly the fourth quarter comes around, and they're just unable to sort of unlock some things. And as a Timberwolves fan, I look at that and go, okay, how did they do that? Because it didn't seem like we were able to really ever do that.
I'm not trying to sound disrespectful here at all, really, to the Timberwolves and what they were hoping to accomplish against Oklahoma State, but I think a lot of it is mental. I think a lot of it is mental. You saw so many careless mistakes, especially in the turnover department. I mean, Tim Connolly just talked about it the other day. The turnovers killed us in that series, and the turnovers absolutely killed them in this series. Indiana crashed the boards like madmen last night. I think they were plus 17 on the rebounding front. They had three guys who had double-doubles in points and rebounds in the lineup, and it's the hustle plays, the mental mistakes. I mean, Mike Connolly alluded to it in his exit interview. We have to have guys who just understand the moment and understand what needs to be done in these moments and the little things that need to be done when the stakes are elevated like this. And it's frustrating for a Timberwolves fan, I can certainly understand, because you saw it in the first two rounds. Even though the competition gets a little more stiff against Oklahoma City, I certainly understand that. But where was the mentality that we saw against the Lakers?
Yeah.
Where was that? Like, just because the opponent changes doesn't mean the mentality has to change. It might be a tougher uphill battle against a better talented team, but your mentality still should not change. So that's, I think it's a little bit between the ears with some of these guys. Not that they're not capable. I think this is another year of let the pain sink in and use it for next year. Hopefully it's just part of the growing process, particularly for Anthony Edwards as you move forward. But it kind of goes back to what we said a moment ago, Amy. The Pacers have seen themselves do this before. They're like, okay, we're down 15 in the fourth quarter. Okay, whatever. That it takes a special type of process and mentality to understand and allow yourself to be in that moment and not be scared of the moment and not get down on yourself and have the wherewithal to mentally battle through. And the Pacers have that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't believe I'm going to say this as a Timberwolves fan, but you almost feel like the best thing for the Wolves would be to not make the postseason next season, just to show them like, hey, you're not going to get here every year. You know what I mean? Like, I can't believe I just put that in the universe, but you brought up Mike Conley and it made me all sad again that they didn't do this for him. And so now I just was speaking out of anger. I'm so sorry. I take it back. Okay.
That's okay. That's okay. Anger is a healthy emotion when it comes to being a sports fan.
It's always therapy with you, Pierre. It's always sports therapy with you. Thank you. I appreciate it very much. Let's talk about the Loons. You were out there this morning. What's going on? How are they doing?
Well, I mean, they have a little bit of a lull in the schedule right now. Some of the guys, they have 6 guys who are off in international duty. Some of them, I think a couple of them are potentially expected to be back because they have another week-long, I don't even want to call it a break because they're going back to practice next week, but there's no match this weekend. They don't have another match until next Saturday at home against expansion team San Diego, who ironically enough is tied with them in the standings for second in the West. So that should be a very interesting matchup come next weekend. But this team, the theme of today was we've seen this team get off to good starts in the past, and then they kind of take a little bit of a summer hiatus, so to speak. But and that's even unfair of me to say because the international window killed them last year. Injuries killed them last year. So they weren't playing with a full deck of players last season. That's really what hurt them. We're in that window again. And the theme coming out of practice today was we feel we're better equipped. We feel our depth is better equipped to carry us through the international windows when some of these guys go off to play for their respective national countries. And I'm inclined to believe them because we've seen some of the starting lineup will change regularly. You'll see guys come in and out of the lineup that could contribute, whether they're starter or whether they come off the bench. And for those of you out there watching who are maybe not be soccer fans, don't understand the game, don't care for the game, this team actually can win in different ways. And that's a sign of a team that I think that has potential to do damage when the fall rolls around and the postseason comes calling.
Nice. Speaking of doing some damage, the Aurora. Can we talk about them? They play, I believe, tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're on our air, which is so great. People can watch, for free over the air, no strings attached. Just find us and watch. But what an incredible organization / team. We had some of the ladies in here about a month ago, right before the season started, and they just all they do is win. Yeah,
and that's really, they are the queens of the regular season, if you will. They just seem to just steamroll through every single opponent that comes their way during the regular season, and it seems like it's effortless for them with how good they are during the regular season. It's just in the postseason, I'm sure they would tell you, we get through this regular season and they look like world beaters, and they'll win a game or two or three in the postseason, but when the rubber meets the road, when it comes to trying to win the whole thing, something has played a role in terms of eluding them from getting over the top to becoming champions in their own right. But, sooner or later, with the talent that this team has year in and year out, sooner or later, I believe they'll be able to kick that door down. But you have to strike when the opportunity knocks, because it's not like this league and these players are going to get worse. When you find yourself at the front of the pack, you have to be able to take advantage, because like we were just talking about with the Wolves, you're not going to get this opportunity every season. Injuries occur, other teams get better. So when you have the opportunity to strike, you have to take advantage of it.
For sure. Okay, anything else? I don't know, you want to talk, I don't know if there's Vikings, there's nothing really.
I was going to mention one thing with the Twins. Unfortunately, the news of Pablo Lopez, with the lat strain at 8 to 12 weeks is what was the indication for Pablo Lopez and the Minnesota Twins, and that is certainly a tough blow to not only to the starting rotation, but to a team that dug themselves out of a big hole early this season and are now seemingly back in control of their own destiny. But to lose your ace for 8 to 12 weeks at the beginning of June, you're really going to have to rely on some guys to step up for you, because this is, like we just talked about with the Loons, depth is so important. And here's your opportunity to show that you have guys that can step in, even if you're missing your ace of your staff. This is a very crucial stretch now for the Twins to have to go through the middle of the summer without their ace. If they can somehow stay afloat and still remain in the pack, that would be terrific for them. But that's a tough loss for the Twins with Pablo Lopez.
Yeah, just when they start getting on that long streak, at first we were like the 13 win stretch. We're like, ooh, is this real? And then they consistently just played really, really great baseball. So it's definitely a blow. So we'll see how they
back at home. Yeah, they're back at home tonight. By the way, at home tonight, starting a series with the Blue Jays tonight. So the Twins back at Target Field tonight.
Sounds good. I haven't talked to you since the news about Aaron Rodgers either. Just really quickly.
Expected, I would say. It makes sense for both parties. on some level. I've said it last time. I'm gonna say it again. I know he may not be the same guy as maybe even 2 years ago, 3 years. 2 years ago he tore his Achilles, but I still think that with the right pieces around him, I still believe there's enough good football left in Aaron Rodgers for him to be a difference maker in the league in terms of getting your team to where you hope it would get. I don't think Pittsburgh has enough pieces on their team to make them a championship contender with Aaron Rodgers. I think they could very well be a playoff team. They play in a brutal division with the Bengals and with the Ravens. So I do think Pittsburgh has what it takes, certainly, to be a playoff team. To go all the way now with Aaron Rodgers, I still don't think there's enough there.
Okay.
But I'm a little sad that I'm going to be robbed of the Aaron Rodgers circus that could have taken place here in Minnesota. I'm not going to lie.
I know. But also, just we can just move on now. We don't have to worry about all the little social media spats over whether he's coming or not. And all right, Pierre, thanks so much. Appreciate it. You're working tonight? You're on tonight.
We're putting a piece together on Minnesota United and where they are, the midway point of the season. So you'll look for that coming up tonight at 5 and 6 o'clock.
Awesome. All right, Pierre. We'll see you then. Thank you for checking in.
Amy.
Appreciate it.
All
right. Have a good one. Okay, let's see. Let's take a break, right, Amber, and then come back and then just kind of reset because we have so much developing news that's been happening here, major news stories that we've been following that we have some updates on. So we'll do that. Do we have a little? So okay, nice. All right, we're gonna take you to break here on a little Zen moment. If you like donkeys, how about that? We'll see you just here in a couple of minutes. Oh, cute.
Sniff it out. You want them both?
Yeah, you need some TV time too, friend.
I'll take these off. We'll chase for a while. If the blue one runs, we're done. He's the instigator.
Very cool. How many people attend this event? It seems huge. And then how many people are competing?
We have 33 bronc riders, almost.
watching Fox 9 All Day.
Welcome back to All Day Live. I'm Amy Huckert. As we enter into the 1 o'clock hour here, we have quite a few major developing stories that we are following here this afternoon. And we want to start off with one in Elk River. The Anoka County Sheriff's Office confirming to Fox 9 that there has been a large search that's been ongoing and continuing at a landfill in Elk River. And this, they say, is related to the disappearance of 16-year-old Jordan Collins, otherwise known as Manny Collins. We do have some video from our chopper. This was taken just about an hour and a half ago or so. This was the scene. You can see crews there digging through some of that rubble and then sorting it out on some of those tarps and tables. We also saw some machinery that was kind of digging through the bigger piles and separating things. Dozens of people on the scene there. The sheriff's office there, Columbia Heights Police, because that's where Manny was last seen, and the reports were taken. Anoka County Sheriff again, and then the BCA, FBI also on scene. As you can see, those evidence tents set up and crews kind of going between there and then the spot where the machinery is kind of digging through some of the rubble, and you can see the paths that have been cleared there. So we've been watching. Rob Olson is at the scene. Our chopper is no longer there, but Rob is at the scene, has been bringing us the very latest. He just arrived just a short time ago. He's trying to gather as much as he can from the scene. As we're kind of continuing to show you this, though, just to bring you up to speed on this case, Manny, again, 16 years old, and he went missing. It was about a month ago in Columbia Heights, sort of the corner of 49th and University Avenue. At the time of his disappearance, Manny was temporarily staying with his father in that area. So police came out and asked folks to check, their cameras, their property, to see if there was anything suspicious, anything that could give them clues. And investigators and family came out probably a couple of weeks, I believe, after he was reported missing, and said, we now believe that he's being held against his will. So they were asking anybody to come forward. Specifically, they called out Manny's father. Now, there have been no arrests and no charges in this case, and law enforcement have not named a person of interest in this, but we know that that Manny's mother, Ashley Berry, had come forward and asked specifically for the father to start cooperating with law enforcement. Let's just really quickly, Amber, I think you had pulled up a map that I just wanted to show folks for context here, if you want to kind of describe what we're looking at.
So I'm zoomed in right now on this. Hannah, we can take the map full actually right now. So that little red dot there is the landfill. If I'm understanding this correctly, I'm no Elk River expert, but this area right to the west of 169 appears to be the landfill. There are a bunch of other pits around here. So while it looks similar to what appears to be the landfill, I don't think that all of this is the landfill, if that makes sense. Elk River, if you're not familiar, northwest of the cities. So the town of Elk River right here. So I know it's a little hard to see.
Yeah, and 94 is kind of running along parallel
so
down there.
94 and 10 kind of run parallel south of Elk River, and the landfill is straight north, and the Twin Cities down here over in this area where Manny was last seen down here in Columbia Heights. So 49th and University, it's that area right there. But the Elk River landfill, way up here in Anoka County.
Okay, all right, sounds good. I know we're working to get our Karen Scullin.
Actually, Amy, she might have just logged on.
Jump on. So yeah, Karen had the opportunity to sit down actually with Manny's mother just a couple of days ago here at the station and have a conversation with her. And we played you a little bit of that a little bit earlier last hour, but we asked Karen to come on too and just talk to us about that interview and what Manny's mom had to say as well. While we're waiting for that, also, just really quickly, we are following a couple of other developing stories, including a special session that's been called now for certain on Monday. We'll check in with Corin in just a minute, and then also we're on verdict watch in the Derrick Thompson trial. So just stick with us here. We got you covered, but let's check in with Karen Scullin right now. And Karen, we sit close to each other in the newsroom, and you came back and said, I'm going to be talking with Manny's mom. This was just a couple of days ago. How did that go, and how was she doing when you talked to her?
Well, I mean, it's been hard for her. I think what's most interesting and kind of sad at the same time is sort of her change in feelings over time. We were at the news conference just a couple of weeks ago. Manny, of course, disappeared on May the 8th. And I think this is all just hard for her to understand, as far as what's happened. There was this initial, okay, where's Manny? And asking his father, where's Manny? And the father was saying, oh, well, he's probably at his girlfriend's, or he went to his grandma's, but that wasn't true. And so, the concern grew with every day that passed. But I think that when we were at the news conference, as I started to say, there was this feeling that, like, the family, very much thought Manny was okay. And that he would be fine. The father maybe just was keeping him somewhere, that kind of thing, because they did have some differences, the father and son. But a week later, that hopeful attitude and belief kind of changed. And so when I interviewed her earlier this week, it just broke my heart, because I asked the same question, do you think Manny is okay? And she said, no, I don't. And so that had changed in just a week's time. And I think that she had told us that they had found actually she said a lot of evidence in the apartment where Manny was staying with his father. And I think that may have been what changed her mind, unfortunately. So, this is a wonderful woman a wonderful mother who thought she was doing the right thing. In the reason he was at his father's, they kind of co-parented. It wasn't like really a custody thing, but the father had some issues in the past, whatever. But recently, Ashley believed that he had stabilized, because he had gotten an apartment a couple of months before, and okay. And although he struggled with the job, the father, he was apparently very smart. So Manny was struggling a little bit, especially with math in his online school. So that's really, to finish out the year, mom was like, well, why don't you stay with your dad? He can help you with your math, and, this will be a good thing. And, of course, we know what happened after that. But I asked her this morning how she was doing, and, especially with the search going on, and she didn't know it was on TV. And so that was a little rough. But she has been incredibly strong. She has an incredible support system around her. And she mentioned family and friends and even detectives have been with the Anoka County Sheriff's Office and Columbia Heights PD. You've got the FBI, the BCA. There's a lot of people on this. And she feels very seen, I think. And certainly she's surrounding herself with good people that can hold her up.
I will say, Karen, I was a little surprised that that they confirmed that that they are out there searching, and then of course the chopper is up and everybody's reporting on it. I would have thought maybe they would have discussed that with mom ahead of time, but clearly they didn't. I don't want to speculate. I was curious as to why they did that. I don't know if it's part of the strategy here, and that we don't know about.
I don't know that she didn't know about the search. I just don't think she knew that it was on TV. So I think that's kind of where, but like I said, she's doing her best. I think, I also interviewed his uncle. And everyone was, the reason this was so hard to believe is, the father has never, ever shown signs of violence towards Manny. And so that this was, out of the realm of possibility. This, that wasn't going to be a thing. They had religious differences, and that seems to be a little bit of a sticking point, because the father is she described, very passionate about his faith, which is not the same faith as her or Manny. And Manny didn't like the fact that he kind of was pushing his faith on him. Whether or not that had anything to do with what's happened or what we fear has happened. We don't know. We don't know that for sure. But that was kind of a rub between the two.
Yeah.
But other than that, Mom spoke to him all the time, and he never said he wanted to leave the apartment or that he was scared or that there was anything to be worried about.
What do we know about the time frame from when? So Manny last seen May 8th, but it feels like there was sort of a delay before media was alerted to this, and then all of a sudden there's this press conference. Did anybody ever kind of ask about like the stretch of time in between there and why it took? And maybe you already answered this with the talking to the dad and what he said, but I'm just curious.
Well, I would say that, so he disappeared on the 8th. That's the last time I believe he fell asleep on FaceTime with his girlfriend.
Yep.
He disappeared on the 8th. That was the last time anybody heard from him. There were these days in between where Dad was saying, oh, he's here, he's there. And so I don't, because it's not what anybody's thinking, I don't think anybody thought that he had just vanished.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't until the 12th that he was reported missing.
Okay.
Or that he was reported missing. And then I believe on the 15th, everybody got involved. They have to determine he's not a runaway. They have to sort of start from scratch. Where is he? Who do we talk to? And the more they got into it, the more they realized, this isn't good. I will say, I thought it was interesting at the news conference. I've never seen that many law enforcement personnel at a news conference like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that FBI, BCA, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and North Star Rescue and Recovery was in on this was interesting. So I have the feeling that a lot of that they thought maybe he had been kidnapped or taken against his will, is the phrase that the police used. But I think somewhere along the way that unfortunately changed.
Do you remember when it was the day that you were, I believe, outside the father's home, and you saw them taking? Was that the same day as that news conference? I'm just trying to timeline it. Okay.
It was the same day as that news conference.
Because I remember listening to the news conference and hearing them speak, and it was. Like you, we watched the whole thing, and I remember kind of thinking too, there's stuff, and with any investigation, there's stuff they're not telling us, and some of it is just strategy to put certain pieces of information out there to try to, maybe get certain people to talk or whatever. But it was a very interesting press conference that day, and it was just really. Go ahead.
One thing I do find interesting too is that the day of the news conference, they said they had a person of interest, but they wouldn't name him.
Right. Yeah.
And they're still there. They are still there.
Wow.
They are still not naming him. Yesterday I asked that question. Can you say who the person of interest is, or do you have a suspect? They did not. The only thing, and I know that they made contact with Manny's father initially. Mm-hmm. Where's Manny? And he wasn't all that cooperative. When I revisited with police yesterday saying, anything new, where's Dad, whatever. And it said, the line was, police have attempted to make contact with Manny's father.
I see.
And so, I mean, you don't want to assume anything, but it seems like with the word attempt that they're now struggling to contact him.
Right.
So where he is and why he hasn't been named the person of interest, I really don't know. Certainly all fingers had pointed towards the father really from the get-go on this, being involved.
Oh, yeah. Investigators went right to the edge during that news conference, right to the edge, all but saying, his name. And again, nobody's been arrested, nobody's been charged or even named a person of interest here. But, so many of these pieces coming together now. It's really, we all kind of, when we got that confirmation that this was happening, it just kind of kicks you in the stomach. It's just awful.
It's awful. One more thing I just would like to say, I just want to emphasize that, by all accounts, Manny is just a wonderful kid.
Yeah.
And everyone, not just family, but people just really seem to love him. And he had big plans for the summer. He's going to he got a new job at Planet Fitness. So he's really into fitness. He was doing online school. He had a girlfriend. And he was really doing his best in school, just needed a little assistance. So, this is a kid with big plans and a big future.
And close to his mom, too. They communicate
Very
often,
close to
right?
his mom. It's her only child, and he's very close to her, really is. And so between mom and all the other family members and just friends and uncles and whatever, it's been really hard on them and really hard to believe that this has happened.
Yeah. 2:30, I don't know if you saw this yet, but 2:30 there's an update. It looks like Anoka County Sheriff's Office is going to hold some sort of a media availability. So we'll take that live here at 2:30. And then Rob Olson just got out to the scene, which, I don't even know. I'd have to check in with him to see if they're still out there. The chopper, they are still. Okay, Amber's telling me. Okay, but they're in a position where they're across the highway from where they're searching, so he may or may not stay out there. But we do know they're still searching out there. So I know you're headed on your way in here shortly, and you'll kind of pick it up from there when you get in. So, but we just wanted to touch base with you because she was just here at the station a couple of days ago, and I know you were well, those are really tough conversations to have with people.
Yeah.
So.
Heartbreaking, just heartbreaking.
It really is. All right, Karen, thanks. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yep.
We'll see you in a little bit.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Bye. Okay. Do you want to keep rolling through some stuff here, Amber? Okay. All right. So another story that we're following here this afternoon that is developing. About 11:30, we got word that there is going to be a special session. This is the news everybody's been waiting for at the Capitol. There's a lot of state workers who were hoping that this was on the horizon, so they any sort of layoff notices they'd be getting would not really be too alarming for them. So it sounds like Monday is going to be the day, and our Corin Hoggard is at the Capitol. We'll check in with him when he gets there. He is, popped right up. All right, Corin. So after weeks of it's right around the corner. Oh, it's going to be Tuesday, maybe Friday, maybe Saturday. We have our answer.
Yeah, it took 18 days, but here we are. Go all day Monday. It sounds like they start at 10 a.m. They can go all the way until 7 a.m. Tuesday. That is officially one legislative day, and that's what they've agreed to do, is get it done in one day. 14 bills. They're going to have to limit how much members can say to get through 14 bills in both chambers. They'll still have to figure out who does what in which order, but it looks like, the leaders have gotten everything done, and there's still some disputes in a lot of the bills. We're going to see the Transportation Working Group, and they basically thought everything was good there, but then a new spreadsheet came out, and suddenly there was money coming away from metro counties for transportation and going towards Met Council, and now there's a dispute there, but they're going to have to wrap up all these disputes and get bills basically ready to go by Monday morning.
Two of the biggest sort of sticking point areas, one has been data centers, and then the other was MinCare for undocumented adults. Do you want to walk us through, give us an update on those?
I can tell you those both are going to be handled as standalone bills, which we didn't know that about data centers at all, but we did kind of suspect that was going to be the case for MinCare for undocumented adults. And, I think we talked about this before, but that's really the only way they can get the MinCare cuts to pass. As far as data centers, the taxes bill that came out, and again, there's a taxes bill that's going to be voted on. I'm checking to make sure, but yeah, there's a taxes bill. It's one of the 14. But the taxes bill that came out included some cuts to electricity exemption for data centers. And that immediately got a lot of ire from especially Republicans, but people who think that data centers are a necessity here. We need to get them, even though they do use a lot of electricity and potentially have some polluting effects. The jobs are just huge, and so there were some concerns that data centers might not come here anymore if that was something that was going to be instituted, and so it looks like they may have another way to handle that. We don't see that bill. That bill the data center bill is the one of the 14 that doesn't even have a number. So it looks like it's not even written up yet.
Oh, okay. Just really quickly, I just wanted to drill down just a teeny bit on that, the MNCare for undocumented adults, because people may remember that's the one that was really in the headlines about 3 weeks ago or so, when the Progressive Caucus, of course, was knocking on the door. They were very upset that this was included. And so here we are at a point where it looks like it's going to be in a standalone bill, but people at home might be saying, well, how do we know that it's still going to get passed? Because it still does, it still has to sort of, it doesn't seem like it's just like, okay, yep, go ahead and do it, Yeah,
the presumption is that, pretty much all the Republicans will vote for it, and that leaves them needing just one vote in each the House and the Senate. And since the Democratic leaders have signed this agreement, they would theoretically become that vote. And then Governor Walz has to sign it. So there's something, we again can't see the bill yet, but there's something in that bill that'll make it so that the Democrats absolutely want to make sure it gets through. And it's kind of the opposite of a poison pill, just kind of a guarantee that, they will hold up their end of this bargain here. Yeah.
Okay. And then I guess, we always try to address the layoff notices, because it's a big deal for people's livelihoods, obviously, who work for the state of Minnesota. So you want to walk us through kind of where we are with that and those layoff notices?
Yeah, somewhere around a little less than 1,000 have already gone out, and that's mainly to nurses. The first contractually obligated layoff notices went out on June 1st to those folks. And then the next one would be June 9th, which is Monday, and those have to go out on Monday if there isn't a budget deal in place. And that budget deal won't be in place June 9th. It'll be in progress on June 9th, but those layoff notices or furlough notices will go out to state workers, although, I think pretty much all of them will know that these are not really serious notices at this point, given that there is a special session underway as they get that notice.
Yeah. If by, say they can't get it done by 7 a.m. Tuesday morning, what would happen?
They have to get in there and negotiate more, and the governor would have to call another special session.
Okay. All right. But hopefully, usually you don't get to this point of calling one unless you're pretty confident that it's going to happen. So hopefully we'll get there. I really quickly, before I let you go, I do want to ask you just a quick follow-up to what you covered yesterday. So we obviously you were on the 5 with us yesterday, and you had kind of what I was hoping we would have earlier on our show, which was I wanted the reaction shot of someone who was awarded one of those licenses for selling recreational cannabis. So tell us about your guy. And I think Amber, did you actually? I think she might have. Okay, Amber is so amazing, as you know, Corin. She has clipped the video, so can I play that first and then have you tell us a little bit about it? All right, let's do it.
Yes! Yeah! Woo! Woo! All right, buddy! Never been this fucking happy in a long time. Ooh, we got our license, guys. Yeah! It feels good to cry on joy, dude. It's been a long time.
We opened April 1st, but the process started in August of 2023. So I've been stressed out since August of 23 whether or not we're going to get our license. So now we can just kind of breathe a little bit. We still have more work to do, but the fact that we know we got our license and everything's moving forward, I feel great.
All right, Corin. So some people might say, why was Nick crying? What's the big deal about this for these folks?
First off, it's 2 years of work they've put in since legalization. And I think Nick's story is particularly touching because he's not just doing this to get rich. Sure, he wants to get rich, but he wants to do what, a lot of people can do when they get rich, which is to help a lot. And so he has set out to take, to do this business to help his veterans group. So he's a veteran. He's somebody who has PTSD. He is somebody who, has had suicidal ideations, and he's gotten help. And since then, he's tried to extend that arm to other folks. And he says he's helped 140 people who were on the brink of suicide, veterans who were thinking about it, stop thinking about it. And that's huge. And that's exactly what he wants to do. He has a nonprofit that basically takes veterans who are, struggling with their mental health, and they do, great activities like climb mountains or just, accomplishments that they can kind of put in their bag. And so he wants to expand that. So that's really his big idea. And so, he's going to get rich, and he's put 2 years of work into this and thought he would go bankrupt if he didn't get it. But also, like, the help that he can now offer to so many veterans, he's thinking about that, and that's a big reason why he was in tears of joy yesterday.
Yeah, for sure. And so what was the name of his shop again? Something Warriors?
It's Warriors Garden, and then Warriors Next Adventure is his nonprofit.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's right there in Lower Town. It's it's been a hemp shop, but that doesn't pay the bills.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, it was a memorable moment yesterday, watching through all the different headlines and things, just to see somebody's genuine joy and relief, and all of the 2 years, like you said, built up there. About how many people got licenses yesterday?
249 got licenses. Okay. 75 of them got this retail license, which allows them to open 5 retail stores. I got to tell you, they de-identified it, so it's not like a bunch of names went through. It was just a bunch of numbers. Yeah. And so I reached out to all my contacts saying, "Hey, what's your number? What's your number?" And the only one I saw go by was Nick's, and immediately I was like, "You won!" And he was just in the middle of all of the emotions.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, it was those genuine moments. It's been a long haul for a lot of folks, and things just getting started. So thank you, Corin. I appreciate all the updates here, and we'll check back in with you here later today, 5 and 6 and beyond. All right. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Okay. Take care. All right, Amber, where are we driving next? Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back right after this. Still more news that we're following that is developing here this afternoon in real time. So we'll catch up on all of that and a couple more live interviews as well. Stay with us. All Day Live continues right after this.
You're watching Fox 9 all day.
All right, welcome back to All Day Live. I'm Amy Hockert. It's 1:30 here in the afternoon, and we're following some developing stories for you. We are on verdict watch in the trial for Derrick Thompson. He's the man charged in that deadly high-speed crash that killed 5 women in Minneapolis 2 years ago. The jury is deliberating, and they started about 11 o'clock this morning, so we're going to continue to follow that and bring you any updates there. And then, as we've been talking about, there's this search going on in a landfill in Elk River right now, and it's been happening for the last few few hours. And the Anoka County Sheriff confirming to us that this is a search that is related to the disappearance of 16-year-old Jordan Collins, otherwise known as Manny Collins. So we'll continue to follow those stories. And then if you just tuned in, a special session has been called for Monday. Monday now is the special session. All right. This is a story that we have been wanting to sort of dig into just a little bit more. There's a lot of angles to it, so we tried to get really narrow today and bring you something that maybe you haven't seen anywhere else. Let me start with a little bit of a setup. So the Minneapolis City Council is now calling for an independent audit after an incident on Tuesday in Minneapolis. It's been just sparking a lot of attention. So federal law enforcement say that they were executing a search warrant in a drug and money laundering case, and this was, they say, part of a bigger metro-wide investigation. ICE agents were there as part of it. The scene was described by some who were there as heavily militarized, and then some city leaders and others went on social media pretty early on, fearing that this was maybe an ICE raid because it is a heavily migrant corridor. A lot of people who live and work there are from other countries. So word is starting to spread. People are starting to sort of get nervous, panicked online. You can see it brewing, that something is happening in the neighborhood. Crowds start to form. Now, the scene was eventually cleared pretty soon thereafter. There were no arrests made. Since then, there's just been a war of words all week between one group over here. We've got the mayor, the police chief, the sheriff, and then this other group, which is some Minneapolis City Council members and some others who were on social media talking about this, them thinking this was potentially an immigration raid. Now, cut to yesterday, City Council has now voted for this independent review, specifically looking at how law enforcement handled that incident. For instance, did they follow protocol? Again, we wanted to kind of drill down on that aspect and kind of set aside the war of words and the back and forth. We want to talk about that law enforcement presence with somebody who knows a thing or two about this. So joining me now is Jim Hayes. He's a 20-year veteran of the Department of Homeland Security and current vice president at Guidepost Solutions. Thanks for joining us, Jim. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So let's talk about, you're familiar with what went down. You took a look at some videos, some photos there. Law enforcement telling us that scene Tuesday was the feds executing a search warrant for a drugs and money laundering case, part of a larger metro-wide investigation. As you take a look at that video through your eyes and your experience, I'm curious if you can walk us through what you're seeing, and we can play, I believe we have some of that video right now. Anything stand out to you, but explain to us what we're seeing here.
Well, one of the things that strikes me as the reporting is that this is a federal task force conducting a criminal investigation into a group of people that are alleged to be trafficking in drugs and laundering money. And when you talk about those types of investigations, they often involve violent gangs and dangerous individuals. And what looks to me to be happening here is this is either the Homeland Security Investigations Special Response Team or components, because there were other agencies there, the ATF and the FBI, components of their SWAT teams. And these are teams of highly skilled investigators, special agents who are called upon to execute high-risk search and arrest warrants. These are criminal investigative operations, and standard for these types of cases when you're looking at tackling dangerous, violent criminal organizations.
Jim, how about the tanks? I mean, visually, as you're looking, this is not something we see, around these parts very often. So it's very startling on any day. But now we're in a neighborhood where it's, a heavily immigrant population is living and working there, obviously outside of a Mexican restaurant. What about kind of the visual, the optics here?
This is rare to see anywhere because these types of operations don't take place on a daily basis. So I understand that people would say, wow, we haven't seen that. But one of the things to consider here is why they use that type of vehicle is to not just protect the agents who are executing those search warrants, but also to protect the general public, right? To wall off that area. Their goal isn't to be surrounded by hundreds of protesters as they conduct these operations. Their goal is to do this as quickly and as safely as possible, move into the area, execute their warrant, and get out of the area. So the bystanders complicate this in a number of different ways, make it unsafe for the agents and officers, make it unsafe for the people who are inside the premises, but also make it unsafe for themselves.
Was there, and you clearly aren't involved in this particular response or operation, but generally speaking, are there opportunities along the way when they're strategizing this kind of operation to say things like, okay, let's look at the climate right now. Let's look at what's happening in the world and kind of the fears out there. Let's look at, time of day, middle of the afternoon in this particular neighborhood, which we know, is a neighborhood where there's a lot of people from other countries who live there. So is any of that taken into consideration, or is it the kind of operation where you're just like, these are the things we need to do, boom, we got to go, and there's no wiggle room?
All of those things are taken into consideration when planning. In fact, when they're planning these types of operations, they're looking at doing it at a time where they can achieve their goals, but also do it again as safely as possible. I can't speak to what that area is like normally, but those things are absolutely taken into consideration.
Mm-hmm. And so just to kind of circle back for a second, just to be clear, you're saying that what you're seeing, as far as you're concerned, looks like what you would have done maybe in that situation, or what is considered sort of a normal operation.
I've led dozens of those types of operations where the target of the investigation is a potentially dangerous target, and you need to take particular care for the risk associated with what you're trying to achieve.
Okay. I think there were some questions from some folks about, well, it would have been nice to have been given a heads up if you're, a city official or something like that. Is there any room for that, for any sort of advance notice for anybody?
I can speak with firsthand knowledge that ICE and the Department of Homeland Security really desperately want to cooperate and want to have that coordination with localities. And this is why you've seen the Secretary, the Attorney General, and the Border Czar go out and talk publicly about sanctuary jurisdictions and target those jurisdictions in court because of the challenge of conducting these activities when you're not able to cooperate. History has shown, though, that in certain jurisdictions, and there have been these jurisdictions throughout Minnesota, if you cooperate, if you provide advance notice, then it's highly likely that that information is going to be relayed to the public in a way that makes it very difficult to actually achieve the objectives of making those neighborhoods safer by removing those dangerous organizations.
Yeah, and I guess we can talk about that for a second too. The fact that it started to spread on social media. Some speculation early on. When in this age of social media, when it gets out there, and then we saw the crowd starting to form. Obviously there seems to be some sort of a compromise potentially to the operation, but also the people involved as well on both sides of things. Also the bystanders.
Like I said, this is not a situation where Homeland Security, the FBI, ATF, anyone wants to invite people to witness these types of activities for a number of reasons, but most importantly, for the safety and security of those people who are bystanders. I don't know who the people are that are glued to social media all day long and see a report that there is some type of arrest or warrant operation being conducted, and the first thing they do is they race down there with their phones or their cameras. I just don't know who has that kind of time, but it's certainly unwarranted, and it's certainly something that, if possible, the department and these agencies would like to dissuade people from doing that.
And you say that, and the crowds were forming, and there's just one piece of video that I remember seeing where one of the law enforcement agents had someone coming up to him with a cell phone and was trying to record, and got fairly close, maybe a foot or so in front of him, and then the agent sort of pushed him off. What are the boundaries when it comes to what are the law enforcement agents able to do in order to sort of keep things secure, but also as maybe a journalist, somebody trying to get video, they also have rights as well. What's that balance?
The agents have an obligation to, again, protect the integrity of their law enforcement operation, protect the integrity of the scene, and make sure that these people who, again, have no idea what's going on, right? They're just seeing a report, showing up, don't know if there's been some type of violent incident inside, and that's the reason for the agent's presence, or if this is a standard, again, investigative operation. So that's their first obligation. Secondary is to try and keep all of those people safe, and really they don't want to do anything. They don't want to have to push people away. They don't want to as they have had to do in certain circumstances, take people into custody because they're interfering with these law enforcement operations. So it's a very difficult situation for law enforcement when they're trying to achieve the objective of keeping that community safe, and that community comes out and wants to interfere with their ability to do so.
Yeah, and it's tricky. It's tricky, especially here in Minneapolis, where 5 years ago we had a bystander who was able to get video, watching the death of George Floyd at the hands of a Minneapolis police officer. So you understand, from that perspective, people, I think, just in general, since then, not just here in Minneapolis, but everywhere, have felt this sense of distrust of law enforcement and have felt like we can't even trust what they're telling us, so I need to actually show people what actually happened. I'm sure you dealt with that during your career as well.
I've never worked in a jurisdiction with as complicated a situation as you described from that incident, and certainly I know that the agencies want to build that trust back. When you have situations where the politicians are against law enforcement just en masse because of something that happened in the past, when you have situations where the community has then turned, I understand that it's a very difficult situation there on both sides, and would love nothing more, as the department would, to have some type of cooperation exist.
Okay. Before I let you go, I do want to just ask you a little bit more of a broader question that sort of relates to this. There was a letter that was written, I believe, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, by about 19 high-level sort of investigative ICE agents. And you were saying maybe back in 2018 this was written, but they wrote a letter to Homeland Security requesting essentially that ICE as an agency be separated and spun off from Homeland Security because they were finding there were a lot of obstacles to getting some of the other work done that they do. Can you kind of give us a glimpse into some of the other types of investigations they would do, and the issues that they're running into, particularly then and obviously now as well?
Well, ICE has a very diverse mission. More than 400 federal statutes can be enforced by immigration and customs enforcement agents. Everything from transnational criminal gang activity, narcotics activity, money laundering activity, the reasons why this activity or this investigation was taking place, to child exploitation, smuggling of counterfeit goods. So there's a lot of different things that the agency has authority over. And since its inception after the 9/11 attacks, this agency has really been governed in terms of what's most important, the priorities, based on how the presidential administration feels about immigration enforcement. And so where there's a administration that does not feel that that's a top priority, these agents spend their time investigating all sorts of other types of criminal activity. When the administration, as it is now, feels that immigration enforcement is the top priority, all those things become secondary. And I understand that a lot of those people in the agency believe that all of the different things they focus on are the most important things. Those are absolutely valid feelings. But the reality is the agenda, the priorities are set by the presidential administration. And personally, in my opinion, I don't think you're ever going to see a situation where one component of the agency splits off on its own.
Okay. Jim, one more here really quickly. I just wanted to circle back just to kind of close the loop here on Tuesday's incident in Minneapolis. So the city council has called for this independent investigation, which it sounds like it's going to happen by the Office of the Auditor in Minneapolis. So what will they be looking for? And if you were that independent auditor, I mean, what do you come away with? Was anything done incorrectly that day?
From the video that I've seen, no. In terms of what they're going to be able to accomplish, I think they're going to be looking mostly to the sheriff's department, the police department, to try and understand what their role was, what their role generally is. And I think across the country, certainly when I was in charge of the ICE offices in Los Angeles and New York City, our relationships with the local police departments and sheriff's departments when it came to conducting criminal investigations was paramount. We needed them and they needed us. So I hope that those law enforcement officials make that clear, that when it comes to investigating criminal threats, they play a role, and they should be allowed to play that role for the sake of the communities that they represent.
All right, Jim, we really appreciate your time and your insight as somebody who spent 20 years in this world. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, take care. All right, Jim Hayes there for us, a former Homeland Security veteran for 20 years. Again, yeah, we, it's tricky. How do you continue to cover that story because there's so many different aspects to it, and we just tried to separate some of the emotional stuff, which is important too, but just tried to separate that out and just take a look at this one piece of it. So, okay, did you want to take a quick break, Amber? Okay, let's do it. So 1:46 right now. We're going to take a quick break and come back. There is more here ahead on All Day Live. Of course, we're waiting for a 2:30 sort of media availability with the Anoka County Sheriff's Office talking about this developing news in Elk River at a landfill there where they say that there is a search related to the disappearance of 16-year-old Manny Collins. We'll continue to follow that. And we're on Verdict Watch with Derrick Thompson's trial as well. So stay with us. All Day Live continues right after this.
You're watching Fox 9 All Day.
Welcome back to All Day Live, 1:49 on this Friday. We're glad that you're with us. So we have an inspirational story for you this afternoon. It's about a young man from right here in Minnesota who wasn't supposed to make it past infancy. And wait till you see him now. Joining me now is Connor Dykes and his mom, Mindy. Thanks for joining us, you guys.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, so is there a graduation in the future? Did it just happen? Where are we at with
it? Just happened. We are recovering from graduation.
Well, congratulations. Such a great accomplishment. We have so much to talk about. First, Mom, I wonder if you can just tell us a little bit about, Connor's diagnosis, when he was diagnosed, and then it's been a long journey for your family.
It sure has. Yeah. So Connor was diagnosed when he was 6 weeks old, and he wasn't supposed to survive his emergency brain surgery. They discovered a mass. His vital organs were shutting down. We prepped him for surgery, and as you can see, that definitely happened. He survived surgery because of his diagnosis of congenital glioblastoma stage 4, and the fact that it took up his entire left hemisphere. Just getting to each month was the goal, literally getting him through treatment. We were never able to allow ourselves to be able to dream this far forward. And here we are 18 years later.
Incredible.
And a graduate from high school.
I need to ask you, because others who are in this type of a situation, you know, how did you navigate all of these years when, you know, nothing was going to go according to that plan that you had in your head, you know, when he was in your belly?
Yeah, for us, it was really just taking just little pieces at a time and learning from Connor. So as Connor got older, we were looking to him for where he was at in the next step. So even, for example, his transition into high school was really challenging. A lot of his differences were just magnified. And once he started talking about things for his future, and then I realized he was thinking forward. I mean, even something as simple as, can I help you with that button? And you said, but Mom, if you help me, how can I do it for myself one day? And I was like, oh, he's there, you know, he's thinking about it. But it was really just about not getting too far forward and being grateful for every gift we have in each day with him.
Connor, is it true that you're one of the longest living survivors with your condition? And if I could ask, you know, how are you feeling now? How are you doing? You just graduated, my goodness.
I feel wonderful.
Oh, well, you look great. How was graduation? Tell me about it.
It was actually kind of fun.
Were you nervous for the ceremony?
A little bit.
Yeah. That's awesome. What an accomplishment. It's just incredible. And I understand, though, I was just reading a little bit about Connor, and it sounds like he underwent another emergency brain surgery. Was that fairly recently? And, you know, what happened with that, and how's he doing?
Yeah, thank you for asking. A year ago in June, Connor had another brain surgery to help him with his refractable epilepsy. So Connor has a lot of late effects from his treatment: vision loss, hearing loss, cognitive delays. He's a stroke survivor. The stroke symptoms are actually what helped us recognize he needed to go to the hospital when he was 6 weeks old. But the hardest one that we've been navigating as far as late effects were uncontrollable seizures, and Connor has had those his entire life. Up until last year, he was having 40 to 60 a month. So we had an opportunity to approach the surgery option, and Connor had the decision. So our job as his parents was just to make sure he had the right information to make the decision, because it was a big surgery and essentially disconnecting a portion of his brain that we, you know, had found through a lot of testing that his seizures were stemming from. And do you remember what you said when I asked you if you wanted to have that surgery or not?
Not even the slightest.
Oh, okay. Well, you in a split second said, I would rather die trying. Oh. And that told us where he was at to have this surgery. Yeah. So Connor had the surgery, he's recovered, and he has not had a single seizure since June of 2024.
Oh my goodness. I definitely want to ask Connor about something that he started, I think, fairly recently that's really, really cool. And it sounds like it's kind of a fundraiser. I don't know, Connor, if you want to tell me a little bit about where we can find it and why you wanted to do this.
Your fundraising link for the hospital patient treatment room.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, what have we been doing for that? A few different events.
Yeah.
We did an inflatable fun run. We did a big barbecue party with live music. Nice. We did another event at 45th Parallel. And the goal is to raise $100,000 so Connor can have a patient room named after him at the University of Minneapolis, where he was treated and ultimately survived his cancer. It's important to us because Connor is just such a beacon of hope, and it's such an amazing story about the power of research. And because of the research that was done before Connor was diagnosed, he's here today. And we really wanted to spread that message with families that are in treatment to never give up hope.
It's wonderful. And tell us where we can find. I saw him on, I think it was on TikTok, right? He had some videos on TikTok as well.
His older sister started a TikTok channel updating and kind of telling his story. And you can find him at our Children's Cancer Research Fund site, connordykes.org.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story and kind of just bringing more awareness. Brain cancer is not something we talk about a lot. It doesn't, it's, I think less than maybe 1% of people are diagnosed with brain cancer. So we don't get a chance to really educate people on it and show an inspirational story like Connor's. So thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Take care. Good luck with the fundraiser, Connor. You can do it. We need that room named after you. That's what we're going for.
I'll do it.
All right, you can do it. All right, thanks, and congratulations on graduation. All right, you guys, take care. Thanks. All right, we needed that. We needed that today. That was very, very nice to talk with him and Mom. All right. Gosh, we're creeping up on the 2 o'clock hour here, and I wonder if I know Karen's going to pop in here in just a little bit. Again, we're waiting at 2:30. If you're just joining us, we're going to be taking live an opportunity that the media has to ask some questions to the Anoka County Sheriff's Office as they are conducting a search, a very large search at a landfill in Elk River, in the Elk River area, that they say is related to the disappearance of 16-year-old Manny Collins. So we will bring you up to speed on that. Our Rob Olson will check in with him in just a little bit. And then Karen Scullen is someone who, if you've been watching here in the last hour or so, just did an interview with Manny's mom a couple of days ago here at the station and had a chance to just chat with her, mom to mom, and also just as a reporter trying to understand as much as we could, because the tone of the investigation and the messaging definitely shifted quite a bit in the last week or so. And so Karen can talk to us a little bit more about that. We're also, another thing that we're watching here actively is jury deliberations in the Derrick Thompson trial. They picked back up at about 11 o'clock this morning, so we're a few hours in now. And Thompson is the man who's charged in that deadly high-speed crash that killed 5 women in Minneapolis, and facing 15 counts. Closing arguments wrapped up yesterday, so now it's in the hands of the jury, and we're just waiting for that word. Not sure if it's going to come today or not, or how long they're going to deliberate today. Again, they just started at 11, so we'll see if we get some word today, or if they end up going through the weekend, or if they end up going home for the weekend. Not quite sure what's gonna happen there, but we'll bring you the very latest on that. And then let's see. Also, Amber, I'm just gonna, if it's okay, just kind of, you want me to keep rattling through some headlines, or you want to take a break, or? Oh, yeah, I can do. Yeah, can I just do that? Okay, perfect. And then just one more quick thing here before we hit a break, which is we did get word on a special session. Again, we've had Corin on a couple of times in the last couple of hours. We've got a lot of great information from him, but essentially it's a one-day special session Monday morning. And so 7 a.m. to 7 a.m. is the legislative day. So Tuesday morning by 7 a.m. is when they would have to have that everything settled. And the governor wouldn't call a special session unless they were right there and they were close to being able to put this thing together. So we will wait and see what happens there. But the news is that the special session will be Monday. That has been called officially, so been waiting for that. All right, let's hit that break and come back. And then again, we're gonna just kind of reset here at the top of the hour and keep going over some of these really big developing stories that are happening here this afternoon. So stay with us here on All Day Live. We're glad you're here with us. And Amber even queued up a little Zen for us here, which I really appreciate. So we'll take you to break on that. Stay with us.
Lance, last one before we go. That was our one chance to get you right. Come here, lady.
You're watching Fox 9 All Day.
Welcome back to All Day Live. Amber Milner is here as well to kind of get us through the next stretch here, going into the 2 o'clock hour. It's 2:06, and the reason is we have now not one, but we actually have two things that are going on at 2:30. But we will,
such a busy day.
Yeah, we will take the 2:30 press conference. It's going to be, or maybe not press conference. It's a media availability with the Anoka County Sheriff's Office in the search that's been going on in the landfill in Elk River that they say is related to the disappearance of 16-year-old Manny Collins. So that we'll bring that to you live here, and then also let's talk about the special session really quickly. We won't, I don't think, stream that here unless it happens after or before.
Yeah, maybe for like waiting in Anoka County. But House leaders are expected to talk at 2:30.
Okay.
Representatives Damath and Melissa Hortman. So they are both talking at 2:30. We do have a camera there. We were expecting to hear from leadership earlier today, Amy, when we were waiting for that special session news, and that never happened. So this might be in lieu of that.
Also, I want to just mention, we are, if you did want to watch the House leaders, we're going to stream it on YouTube live. So if you do want to watch that, you can watch that there on our YouTube channel as well. All kinds of stuff today going on. Some days you don't have anything, and then other days it's just a lot. And today is
fire hose.
One of those days where it's just been constant and just a lot of big stories that we've been following. So again, sorry, I was looking at this when you were talking about special session. Do you want me to go through anything here, or? As far as details?
We've kind of covered it, I think.
Yeah, I feel like we have to.
2:30 avail. Special session just called for Monday. 10 a.m. is when they start. One day session is the goal, right?
Yep.
Layoff notices might also go out on Monday.
It sounds like they will. It just triggers on the 9th. But it sounds like this is going to be taken care of, and we're not in any sort of danger or any kind of a government shutdown, which would happen at the end of this month if they couldn't come to an agreement. But they had that day in mind, so that they could just have everybody rest assured that they'll be fine. Okay, so that's that, and then let's go. Do you want to talk about? Anything else?
Do you want to talk about trial quick?
Okay, let's do that.
We're on verdict watch here, so
yes,
add that to the list.
Okay, so this is a trial for Derrick Thompson, and we've been talking about this. Maybe you've seen it in the headlines here in the last couple of weeks. So it's from a crash that happened 2 years ago, actually this month. Jury deliberations in the trial for Derrick Thompson just started again here at about 11 o'clock this morning. I can't remember, Amber, did they start yesterday at about 2?
Closings ended.
And then they had lunch.
Before lunch, and then they came back and started, I think, around 2.
And then they finished up, I think, at about 4:30. So only a few.
Wait, Rob was there and he's signaling me. Rob, what time? 11. They started. 11:15 is when they started deliberations. Okay, so it was right after yesterday.
Yesterday it was, and then they had a lunch break, and then they came back and did some more.
And then they continued in the afternoon, and then we're back today at 11 to resume deliberations.
Okay, so they had several hours yesterday, and now today starting at 11. They've been in there for a few hours, and we'll just continue to watch that. But again, Thompson is charged in that deadly high-speed crash that killed 5 young women. They were believed between the ages of 17 and 20 years old, and so we'll just continue to watch that and see what happens. We do have the camera in the courtroom, although there are a lot of restrictions. We can't stream anything live, and we won't be showing you anything from the courtroom. But we will be catching folks if there is a verdict. Usually they come out and talk to the media.
And that's usually attorneys, sometimes relatives, things like that.
Yeah. Rob was saying, I was asking about family members or people, supporters in the galley, and he was saying that there were obviously several family members and loved ones of the 5 women who died. He didn't see, though, the father of Derrick Thompson, who is a former state lawmaker, John Thompson. He was a lawmaker for about a year, and he was not ever really seen there, according to Rob. So just an interesting also family dynamic going on, because the defense, Derrick Thompson's defense attorneys were saying that it was in fact Derrick Thompson's brother who was in the vehicle that killed those 5 women, and his brother, of course, the surprise witness on that last day, saying it was not me. We picked up a rental car together, but I took this car home, and Derrick got into the Escalade that is the one that killed the young women. So it'll be interesting to see how long this takes, and we'll bring you the very latest on that when that happens.
Amy, do you want a quick chat with Rob so we can let him go and then he can get into the sheriff's office?
Please, let's do that. Let's bring Rob back in. So Rob, last time we checked in with Rob, he had just arrived at the area near the landfill. Explain to us kind of where you were, where you are now, and what you've been able to sort of pick up.
Yeah, we were at, so the landfill is on the west side of Highway 169. The entrance is at 225th Street, for anybody that knows that area. We couldn't get in. That's right where the entrance is. The police and waste management didn't want us right there. I was across on the east side of the highway, kind of up the hill, so you can kind of see the top of the landfill, because it is a bluff there on that eastern side of it, so you could just see a little bit of the landfill. Otherwise, besides some law enforcement vehicles kind of coming and going a little bit or driving around, we couldn't really see anything from there. We did put the drone up, and I see her showing the helicopter video now that we got earlier from Sky Fox 9, in which you see a pretty large law enforcement presence, and some tent there, a couple of what appear to be temporary structures that they put up as part of a crime scene investigation, which assuming if they are digging through a landfill, it's partly is a place for people to work. It may be in some cases, I'm not saying this is exactly what's happening here, but sometimes they put those up if they're searching to bring items in to kind of keep them from view. Again, hard to tell if that's what's happening here, but you see a large presence there at this landfill doing this search. And again, as you mentioned, we're expecting an update here at 2:30 at the Anoka County Sheriff's Department from a commander here about hopefully shedding light on what tip or information led to this search of the landfill for Manny Collins. If they can tell us about anything they did find there, if they found anything there, or how long that they will be there. But you can see there's a large number of people that have been fanning out through that landfill area. And if you've been to a landfill, this is a large piece of property. That is a lot of area to search, and it's not just on the surface, but digging through a landfill as well. Not a pleasant thing to do, and especially in the circumstances, if they are looking for human remains, then it's even more unpleasant. It could be very difficult and tricky and painstaking as well. So that is a scene that has been going on there for hours. It was hard to tell when we left. When we left, I should say, we did have a drone up, not over the landfill, but across the highway from it, just to get some broader perspectives, and they were still on the scene as of that point about I'd say 45 minutes ago. But again, we'll get an update here, and sometimes these updates don't provide a lot of details, sometimes they do, so we'll just kind of wait to see what they have to tell us here in a few minutes.
Rob, were you surprised at all? I mean, in all of your years kind of covering, different searches and things like that. So we got a confirmation from Anoka County, the Sheriff's Office this morning around sort of, I think 10:30, 11 or so, confirming that there was this search happening at this landfill and that it was indeed related to that. And then of course our chopper goes up. It's all over the news. I mean, that kind of struck me as a little bit unusual, but maybe that's just, maybe I'm wrong there.
You mean in terms of confirming that this is related to this investigation?
And now all this attention is on this, and clearly nobody can get in there or interfere, but I just thought, investigations are usually very quiet and very sort of, everything is just kind of kept quiet. I mean, I don't know if there's a strategy here for another reason.
Well, no, I mean, I have seen this certainly in past cases too, where there's certainly if there's a search, that you may find out about it from the media anyway, or we may find out about it from somebody who's saying, hey, there's a large presence here. And when the law enforcement agencies involved get questions about it, it's not uncommon for them to confirm whether it is or is not related to a particular ongoing investigation. So I would say it would not be unusual for them to say, yes, it is related to this Manny Collins case here. because certainly, there's going to be a lot of questions. They want to clear up any speculation, and that might run rampant, especially on social media, about what's happening here. So by saying yes, it is related to this, they can head off any other, social media speculation about what else it could be. So that's just a good way to put that to rest.
Yeah. And something, we talked to Karen about this earlier, and Karen just walked in here. She'll join us in a second because she interviewed Manny's mom a few days ago. But we really talk about the change in messaging and tone in this investigation from last week to this week. And I know you've been in a courtroom covering the Derrick Thompson trial, and so you're kind of just getting plugged into this a little bit. But something to your point about this news conference coming up, something turned here fairly recently, and hopefully we can get some answers as to how much closer they are to.
Yeah, I mean, clearly some very credible information that led them to such a large search. I mean, they get a lot of tips. I mean, in any of these cases, especially involving a missing person under mysterious circumstances, they sort through hundreds, if not in some cases thousands, of tips that they have to run down, and it's very tedious. But to have such a large turnout here today means that they've got some information that they deemed very credible to warrant such an operation up there. So we'll find out here shortly what they can tell us has led to this and what may have come from this so far. Maybe nothing at this point, but I mean, they're talking to us, so they must have something at least to share.
Yeah. Speaking of that, we do have a shot up of the podium, and you just need to go right inside there. So we're going to let you head in, and we'll take that live when that happens. Again, it's kind of a media availability here coming up, scheduled for about 2:30 or so.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, Rob. We'll talk to you in a few minutes. Thank you. Okay, and just to kind of reset just a little bit, and if it's okay, Karen is here now. We can bring Karen in as well if she's ready to go. Oh, yeah. Let me grab your mic on. I'm gonna grab that and see.
It's on.
Just make sure. Is it on?
Yeah.
Might need a different one. Oh, and I just lost IFB.
It is.
There we go.
Oh, but it's.
I wonder if. Well, we'll get that. Maybe. Okay. Well. Okay, yeah. Please hold. While there might not be. Yeah. There you go. We're gonna get her mic taken care of here. While we're doing that, let me just kind of set things up just a little bit more. We kind of dove into Rob without setting things up. So. Again, the major development in Elk River, and we just want to kind of let you know the timeline here. So it was nearly a month ago. It was actually May 8th that Manny was last seen, and he was at the time staying temporarily with his father in Columbia Heights, near the area of 49th and University Avenue, and you're taking a look at 16-year-old Manny Collins. So people in that area, were asked, do you have any video, outside of your home? Do you, anything in your yards that you find suspicious? Because that was the area where he was last seen. His family members and investigators held a press conference about a week or so ago where they came on and said, we believe that he went missing against his will. They said they have a person of interest, but they would not name that person. There were no charges, no arrests in the case at all. And his mom was very, very worried because they communicated daily and she had not heard from him. He was last seen on the 8th. That's when she last saw him, and his girlfriend last saw him. And then there were a couple of days that went by because he was staying with his father, where Manny's mom was trying to get information as to where Manny was, how he was doing. And, Karen will come back and she can tell us a little bit more about that conversation. But a few days did go by before he was reported missing. And so that kind of brings us to where we are now, about a week or so later. So while we're kind of waiting for this press conference or this media availability to get going here, we asked Karen to just stop in because you had an opportunity to chat with Manny's mom. Ashley Berry is her name, and we had you on last hour for those who maybe didn't get a chance to see it. It really just a tough conversation to have with her. Just kind of walk us through how how she navigated that conversation and how she was feeling at the time.
First I just spoke to her briefly a little while ago. She's understandably overwhelmed, feels like she's, quote, losing her mind. So, especially I was thinking about what that must be like to be a mom. Your only child's missing and now things are not looking good.
Yeah.
And to watch investigators search a landfill on TV. I mean, I can't imagine.
Right.
I just can't imagine. But yeah, I did, we did sit down for an interview a few days ago. A very strong woman, absolutely just so strong. But I think what struck me the most was her change, her demeanor as far as being hopeful the week before that Manny was going to come home and that he wasn't hurt physically. And then that changed.
Because the first time you saw her or sort of met her was at this press conference like a week ago. And yeah, we ran it live here, and I just remember thinking it was heartbreaking to see her so just pleading for answers, but you could still tell she had some hope.
Oh, I think the whole family did. I also interviewed the Manny's uncle a couple of days after that news conference, and he was like, oh yeah, he'd never heard him.
And this is the brother of Manny's father.
Correct.
So
it is the brother of Manny's father. Yeah,
and he wasn't worried about physical harm or anything at that point. Okay.
No, at that point, no. Something kind of ominous, though, during that interview that I had with her, when she was trying to figure out where Manny was. She was, of course, asking the father, where's Manny? Where's Manny? And he would say that, Manny was here, Manny was there. But she joked with him at that time, if I don't hear from him soon, I'm going to send out file a missing persons report. And of course, now looking back, it's not funny at all, and here we are.
Yeah.
But she's overwhelmed and distraught. This is the last. I can tell this is just such a shock to all of them. Because the father, there was no indication that there would be something like this that would happen.
Yeah, because what was the relationship like between, Manny? It sounded like they had a sort of a co-parenting relationship, you said, and then how about Manny and his father? What was that relationship like?
Yeah, it was described to me as a co-parenting situation. Nobody really had custody kind of thing. Now he basically lived with mom because dad did have some struggles. I should note that, his criminal history isn't anything crazy or whatever that would really indicate anything like this. But yeah, as far as Manny and his father, that relationship there, I was told it's pretty good. It's pretty decent. Manny loved his dad, and they did have their differences. As Manny's 16. The one that keeps being brought up though is the issue of faith and religion being kind of where they really butted heads because Manny grew up a different faith than his father. His father was very passionate, I was told, about his faith, kind of pushing it on to Manny. I believe that the father's name in the community, he went by Ali, and his son he would call Mustafa in the community, but he was Islamic, I assume, and but they have told me, this family has told me time and time again, they have zero issues with the Islamic community. So it is just about the father. But Manny, had some issues with the father with respect to his religion.
And how about what investigators and their interactions with the father, with Manny's father? I mean, did they get a chance to interview him? What do we know?
It's a gray area. They had said that they made contact with him sort of towards the beginning of all of this, and he wasn't cooperative. But then I circled back with police yesterday and asked that same question, have you spoken to the father? And they said, we've attempted to make contact with Manny's father. So that's it. That was the updait.
Okay.
And so attempted, tells me they can't find him. So there's a lot going on there, and I'm sure mom is really struggling.
Amber, you
just really quick
here
before this press conference gets started, Hannah, I've got a super in page 2. There has been a verdict reached in the Derrick Thompson trial as well in the last couple minutes. That just coming in. They give us a 30-minute heads up, so we should know what the verdict is in about a half an hour.
Okay.
And if anybody speaks after that, we do have a camera outside the courtroom, and I will do my best to bring that to you guys live too if we're done in Anoka County.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Amber. Appreciate it. As you can see in the bigger window right there, we are just waiting for this media availability with, I'm not sure exactly, I don't think Rob knew either exactly who was going to be speaking, but someone with the Anoka County Sheriff's Office to give us an update here on what has been sort of this I think day-long now search at the landfill in Elk River.
I did ask Ashley if she would be at that news conference. She didn't really directly answer me, but I got the feeling it was no, that she wouldn't be there.
Okay.
But I'm not 100% sure about that.
Okay. It's I'm glad you had a chance to touch base with her today. I know that conversation that you had with her the other day it's just really hard. And so we've talked a lot about Manny's father, and again, he's been charged, and nobody's been named as a person of interest here,
which is strange at this point, I think.
Which is,
given that everything has pointed to
Tell us
father.
about the news conference, because they walked right up to the line.
They really did. They walked right up to that line, but would not identify him as a person of interest. I'm sure there's a reason for that. Maybe some sort of a strategy not to identify him as such. But they still haven't, which is interesting. And with them saying they've attempted to make contact, maybe they don't want to actually put that out there. I don't know. I do know that Mom told me earlier this week that there was she said a lot of evidence collected from the apartment.
And that was,
the pair
you happened to be outside the apartment. It was, what day was that? And you saw some things.
I was trying to think, was that Wednesday? Was that last Wednesday?
I think it was whatever day
Wednesday,
the press conference was. But I remember in your reports that night, you were talking and showed video of them coming out.
Right, and then on the front of the apartment building, which is right next to like a market or a quick shop, on the front of the apartment building, there at the main doors, is the missing flyer for Manny Collins. So heartbreaking.
Yeah. Well, why don't we just let's just kind of let's go to this shot, and I think we can just kind of listen in, because they'll get started here any minute, and then that'll give us a chance to kind of reset a little bit back here as well. They're white balancing right now, so they're going to get started. We're going to leave you here. The Anoka County Sheriff's Office giving us this update again. The search that's been happening at the landfill in Elk River, with confirmation that this is related to the missing persons case of 16-year-old Manny Collins from last seen in Columbia Heights. So we'll leave you with this, and then we'll stay here and circle back after the news conference. And it sounds like we're going to be headed to a verdict in the Derrick Thompson trial right after that. So stay with us. We're here with you on All Day Live.
Chris, what's our CCO mic at? Where's our CCO mic? Let's play mic flag games. We're not doing mic flag of words again. Remember that when the all those days are old. Mark Anderson? Yeah. Oh, that was terrible. The Mark Anderson days, yeah. Oh, I was there. It was terrible. Remove it for the only one. No, we're just giving crap. I hate mic flags.
Well, and just as you guys are still setting up, I already apologized to the group that was here first. Tierney, the A team is out today, so unfortunately, this is what you folks get. So,
are you the A+ team? That's what it is.
No, not anymore. No, Tierney does a great job, but she actually asked for a day off, so it was easy to grant it to her. So please be mindful that this is not our A team, but we'll do our best. All right.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Absolutely. No, and we thought it would be easier with the amount of inquiries we were getting, just to have a little something. It's not going to be a full press conference or anything, but I can give a few points, and then if you guys have questions, we'll chat. And obviously, you understand if there's things I can't answer, it won't be because I don't want to, but we have to protect the integrity of that investigation. So, but
understood.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're all ready when you are.
Okay. All right, well, I'll start by giving my name. My name is Wayne. That's W-A-Y-N-E. The last name is Heath, H-E-A-T-H, and I'm a commander here with the Anoka County Sheriff's Office. Just to give you all a brief update, as we continue in our search for Manny Collins, our investigation has led us to a search that became very obviously public this morning, and people had a lot of interest. That's why we're here. We just want to give you as much information as we can, but please understand, due to the active nature of the investigation, my responses may be limited, and that is again only to protect the integrity of the investigation. When more public information becomes available, we will share it. The local, state, and federal law enforcement officials remain committed to using all of our available resources to locate Manny Collins. During the investigation, public and private property has been searched, whether on foot with people or using dogs or other resources. And at this point in the investigation, information has led us to search a landfill in Elk River. And what we're looking there for is just evidence that can help us identify the whereabouts of Manny. That remains our goal, and we're committed to that. With that said, we are utilizing resources from the FBI, the BCA, Columbia Heights Police Department, other law enforcement, public safety agencies, and continue to try to find that evidence to seek whatever information we can to locate Manny. So as we continue, that is only one part of the investigation. We have other facets that are ongoing. So I don't want anybody to think that we are merely focusing all of our attention and energy on that. We continue to follow up on other leads and do all of the other things we would with other investigations to continue to track down evidence that'll lead us to Manny's whereabouts. And I guess with that said, there isn't a lot I can discuss about why we ended up at the landfill or anything like that. But with that, do you folks have any specific questions you'd like to ask about that?
How close are you to finding him?
Right now, we're just searching for more information, and as any other criminal investigation goes, sometimes we don't know what next piece of the puzzle will be the final piece that completes the picture for us. So we're looking for that next piece of the puzzle, and we don't. It would be speculative to say how close we are to actually finding him, but we're looking for that next piece, and all of a sudden that picture or that puzzle might be very clear based on what we find.
So you were looking for evidence but not searching for a body in the landfill, so to speak?
Yeah, it's certainly not necessarily just a search for a human or remains or anything like that. It's any evidence that can lead us to whereabouts. That's what we're looking for.
Can you obviously, though, with the number of resources that are up there today, can you speak to, I mean, you obviously got some information in that was deemed very credible to put that amount of resources up there?
Yes, absolutely. But to the extent that that doesn't necessarily equate to what we might find. If you've looked in this case, we've been utilizing those federal, state, and local partners for a lot of this investigation, and we're just going to continue to do that. And we're committed to finding Manny, and that's why we're throwing these resources at the investigation.
Explain the scope of that investigation at the landfill. Obviously, that is a very laborious, time-consuming, extensive process. What's all involved?
Well, it takes the form of whatever leads were developed to get us there. We have an idea of what we might be looking for, and we're going to search until we can find or not find that type of evidence that we're looking for. And when that is over and done with, we would leave the area.
Does this involve searching the entire area of the landfill, or just a portion, and is it sifting through and taking parts out, or what?
I can't get into specifics about how it is all done, but we are able to more narrowly focus our search in the landfill, and sometimes it can, I wouldn't say sifting, but we're looking for any small pieces of evidence that we might be able to find.
Is it safe to say the person of interest still is a person of interest And if so, why haven't you got named?
Well, at this point, they're not an official suspect, and we do not have information enough to further that. So we would just leave them as a person of interest, as we would with other cases.
Have you spoken to him recently and continued to have conversations, or know where he's at?
I know that detectives have attempted to contact him, but I don't know how successful or when they have contacted him recently.
On the landfill, was it a tip that got you there, or was it just the investigative work, a tactic by the agency?
It was information developed during the investigation, not a tip. So what detectives were able to see and piece together through their investigation.
Are you searching other landfills anywhere else?
No. If we have other searches, like if we find out information that would lead us to do another ground search or search of another area, we will do that as well.
How long do you expect to be out there tonight? Could it be through the weekend?
It could be until the investigators determine that they've exhausted the possibility of finding the evidence they're looking for.
Manny's mother posted what looked like a missing poster. Obviously, it included Manny, but then it included his father, and it said, "If you see him as well, call police." Is that something you would ask her to do, or can you explain, why she would do that?
That I do not know. I would only be speculating, but I don't believe that was any part of our investigation.
Have you been able to make contact with Manny's father?
We have tried, and I don't know how successful that's been.
You're still looking for the public's help in helping find Manny?
Yes, obviously, if the public has any information about his disappearance or any information that they think could be helpful, we would appreciate it. I do have, we have the BCA tip line set up. That number is 1-877-996-6222 or at bca.tips@state.mn.us.
Do you have reason to believe he is or is not still alive?
Again, that would be speculative at this point in the investigation.
But there's been no contact with him?
Correct. That has not changed. Yes, sir. That is
cell phone activity.
correct. That has not changed.
So I know Sunday will be a month that he's been missing. And like you said, Miss Berry put out looking for the father. Have you not spoken to the father? Is he not cooperating? Is it fair to say that now, that he's not and you can't find him?
That is information that I'm not privy to. I don't know whether or not he has been cooperative or whether or not he's been found. That I'm not aware.
And how much more evidence are you looking for? What exactly do you need the public's help with?
Any evidence that they have about seeing something or hearing something, generally when these things happen, they don't happen in a vacuum. Somebody hears something or saw something that was suspicious, so we're asking for, or if they happen to have video on a building or of an activity, that they would share that with us. That's the evidence that we would seek the public's help for, just any information. I think simply just because of the environment.
Truly because of the garbage?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, it would be the hazmat suits for the environment that they're working in.
You can't say a lot about what is leading them to the landfill, but what can you say? I mean, it's 32 miles away from Columbia Heights, quite a distance. What can you say about what the connection there, what led investigators there?
Sure, and at the end of the day, so an apartment in Columbia Heights or a townhouse here in Coon Rapids, all of their refuse gets picked up by a certain company, and those companies take the refuse to either to a transfer station or to a landfill itself. And when we're looking for something, we might end up having to contact, say if it was a home over here, where does their refuse go? And that would lead us to go to a certain landfill. So the proximity from Columbia Heights to the landfill is really only dependent on where the refuse haulers take that.
So is this the garbage company from his father's apartment building? That is the connection, or
And
from the company?
that I am not aware of, and at this point, it wouldn't be something we would give out anyway due to the nature of the investigation.
So Manny's still missing.
Yes, sir.
How's everybody doing?
Are you speaking of family or?
Yeah, everybody. I mean, anybody that you're close with here, or obviously yourself too, you're in the mix.
Well, obviously this is a very trying investigation, simply because it's what's at stake here. We have a young man who's missing, and we want to find him desperately. And for us, we want that to happen for the family. This is part of what we do, and we expect to deal with these things. But we look at what this is doing to the family and the community that this is affecting, and we're a very distant. You don't need to worry about us. This is what we do. But our concern is for those people. I think they're doing as well as they possibly can under these extraordinary circumstances.
How often do you come across a case like this, and is this the timeline that it takes to, really gather evidence?
Well, some of a case specifically like this, this isn't a very common case, or at least it hasn't been in my career. But the more complex the investigation, and the more things that are attached to it, sometimes it can take us much longer than this to find all the evidence we need to whether it's in a case, find a human in this case, or find the evidence we need, because it can go and be spread to a long distance apart. And some of these investigations take years for us to get to where we need to be. That's not our hope here. We're hoping to find Manny as soon as we possibly can, for his sake and for the families.
Thank you. Can we get your name, spelling, title?
Sure. First name is Wayne, W-A-Y-N-E. Last name is Heath, H-E-A-T-H. And I'm a commander here at the Anoka County Sheriff's Office.
Thank you, Manny.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I apologize for being the B team.
This actually started on Wednesday. Oh, really?
Okay, we've been watching the update there from Wayne Heath, the commander with Anoka County Sheriff's Office on the search for Manny Collins. Your thoughts just kind of right off the bat coming out of that?
Not a ton of information, not a ton of new information, but I think, he was mostly there to sort of acknowledge that, yes, they were there for the Manny Collins case, and he did get, specify what kind of evidence they might be looking for there. It's easy to assume this or that with regards to what they could be looking for, but we really don't know. And that was clear. But it is a pretty big operation, I will say that.
Yeah. While we were watching that, your immediate question that he couldn't hear, but that you had was, this person of interest has not been named yet.
I don't know why. I don't get it. And he said, well, we haven't named the person of interest because he's not a suspect. Well, of course, those are two different things. I don't know when person of interest started to become a thing, but it did several years back, and it's not necessarily the suspect, but, he is a person of interest in terms of they want to talk to him, but why the father we're talking about, but why they won't say, yes, this is the person of interest right now. I don't know.
Yeah, that was, but then there was sort of a follow-up where he was asked a question, have you talked to him? And then, meaning right after the person of interest question, and then the commander said, we've tried. So in sort of a roundabout way, but officially not saying that. But anyway, so the search, I guess, continues until it's exhausted at this landfill. But again, not a whole lot of information about why.
What they're looking for exactly. The commander did make a point to say, this isn't all they're doing today.
Sure.
And I have been, every time I've touched base with police, it's, the same, they're still doing interviews. They're still looking for places to search and reasons to call out a public search, which there hasn't been yet. So I know they've been searching, and I know they've used dogs in some areas to conduct these searches, but they haven't had a reason to say, okay, we need some public help because we're gonna, focus on this area here. I think they don't have that area, to need that kind of help yet. So.
Yeah. And one of the questions also that you had, if you were there, I think one of the first things you would have asked is, do you believe he's still alive?
Right. I mean, and and police say, well, we don't want to speculate one way or the other, and I understand that. Nobody. I mean, because you don't really know for sure. Yeah. I know that, as we had discussed earlier, Manny's mother had changed her tune quite a bit from one week to the next, believing that, he was missing, but probably okay because Dad never showed any signs of violence. I know Uncle thought that too, and then, several days pass, and then she just. And
you asked her flat out. You
asked her. I said, "Do you think he's okay?" And she said, "No, I don't anymore. I don't." She goes, "I don't really want to say that, but I don't." Mm-hmm. And it was based on some of the evidence that they had found inside the apartment where he was staying with his father.
In case folks are just joining us, you've also been communicating with Mom today as well.
Yeah.
If you want to kind of just reiterate what she's been saying.
Sure. I mean, I think that, I asked her how she was with the search. I think she didn't know that she knew the search was happening this week. I don't think she knew it was on TV with the helicopters or whatever. So I'm sure that, and she said she was overwhelmed and, kind of felt like she was losing her mind. I can't imagine what she's going through, but it's a lot. It's a lot, and I know she's been incredibly courageous through this and not falling apart. Which she said that she can't fall apart and lose hope because of Manny. She has to find Manny. Yeah. She has to find him, and to fall apart won't do that mission any good. So.
Okay. Well, a little bit more there, but not a lot.
No.
So, all right, we'll continue to follow this. Thank you for coming in and checking in with us and sharing your conversation with Mom the other day. We appreciate it. And yeah, you'll have much more. I mean, you just started your day, so you've got the rest of the day to kind of to stay on top of this. So thanks for stopping in. All right, do we want to transition over to Rob really quick or take a break? Or okay, we're going to jump over to Rob because I was just telling Karen a lot going on today, Rob, in addition to this, where you just came out of the news conference that Karen and I just debriefed. But for you, we were wondering if you could talk to us a little bit about the other big story right now that's developing, which is it looks like there's a verdict in the trial for for Derrick Thompson. John is his father, former state lawmaker, Derrick Thompson, who's on trial here for murder.
Yeah, and I just saw that. I saw that come through as well. So I mean, obviously, I've not been there today. I've been there for the past week, so I don't have a lot of information about that. I do know that it was a 30-minute notice is what the judge said yesterday from the time that the verdict comes in until that it will be read in court. And so I would imagine, that'll be, although they've been kind of behind schedule with a lot of the times that they've said that they're going to do things, they might be running late because they have to make sure that all the family members of, there's 5 young women that lost their lives here. So there's an extended family that needs to come in. So sometimes it takes a little bit longer than that to get everybody set up in court before these verdicts are read. But I know you were talking earlier about the deliberations. I know, my notes show that the jury exited the courtroom into the deliberation room at 11:15. There's always a process to start where you have to elect a foreman and a little bit of that. Presumably, I know that I saw catering there. It's pretty typical that they'll bring food in for jurors and then they can decide whether or not they want to break and eat or just kind of continue working while eating. So, but yeah, they went from around 11:15 when they went to the deliberation room until 4:30. And then the judge said to be back at 11 o'clock today. So it's now 2:45, close to 3. Yeah. So they've been deliberating for, let's just say 8 hours or so total.
Okay. Rob, I'm going to just hit the pause button on you for 1 second and ask Amber, do we have a shot up at the Capitol that we want to go to real quick? While we're waiting, okay, Rob, let's cut you loose just for a bit here. I know you need to reset, covering a couple different stories here. We're going to get back to that Thompson verdict when it comes down and it's announced. But right now, we want to take you to the Capitol, where state lawmakers are talking about the fact that they have called that the governor has now called a special session. I believe we're hearing from Representative Lisa Damuth. I'm not sure. And Representative Melissa Hortman. So DFL, they're in the pink, GOP in the gray. Let's listen in.
Yeah, I am confident that the bill that you're referring to, Tom, is the bill that will end the insurance coverage for undocumented people age 18 and above. We do have the votes in the House for that, and I'm confident the Senate will be able to pass that also.
That includes the Posse Caucus? Are they...
You know, we need 68 votes to pass a bill. Out of the House, we know that, and we know we have 68 votes.
Speaker Davis, on that point, you had mentioned that the only way your caucus would get behind a standalone bill is if there was some contingency language.
Yes.
To ensure the governor's signature.
Sure.
What is that language?
So that language will be posted in the health bill, but what we have is that the initial bill, as I just mentioned, is a standalone bill. The contingency will ride in the health finance bill, and basically what it will say is that the funding for the Department of Health in the entirety is contingent on the passage of the other bill that ends that coverage age 18 and above for undocumented insurance. So it's not just the passage, but the enactment of that bill too. So that's our contingency, kind of the safeguard. In the room, the four leaders and the governor, we signed and we agreed to that being the case. This just lends that little bit extra layer of insurance to help with caucuses that maybe were a little bit concerned.
And it sounds like, Speaker Emerita, that you might be the 68th vote.
Could be.
What it takes.
Could be.
How difficult is that vote for your caucus? You said you hate it, so how difficult is it?
Right. Well, we made an agreement, and you know, when I sign my name on a sheet of paper and I commit us to take an action, I'm committing, you know, the votes we need to enact that policy into law. It is not the trade that we would have made. It's not the state budget we would have put together, but it is a compromise. And we have to keep state government functioning. We have to keep funding for all the other people who get health care. Certainly undocumented adults are deserving of health care as well. But in order to get a budget agreement that funds the government for the state of Minnesota, this is a compromise that I was willing to make. And if it requires just my vote, then that's how we'll get it done.
Can you talk about briefly the layoff notices that will go out on Monday?
We just got an update that perhaps they can wait until Tuesday at 7 a.m. I think there's been some outreach to the unions that represent the state employees. And I think the folks, you know, who are the beneficiaries of the contract or the co-parties to the contract with the state of Minnesota are saying, you know, basically, we don't really want you to tell our employees they're going to be laid off and then the next day tell them they're not going to be laid off. So I think that it could be that the notices may not have to go out if we finish our business by 7 o'clock on Tuesday morning. That's
at 10 and then caucus, or caucus each bill, or how's that all going to work?
The intent is to come in at 10 and go right into the first bill and work our way all the way through. We've been very clear with all four of us as leaders that we will pre-caucus those bills as needed throughout the weekend. And yeah, we will make sure the work's done so we can get right to the work at hand on the floor.
Is there discussion to ask your members to limit their floor speeches so that you can get this done on time, so that there's not, someone's not talking for 2 hours? Great question. You know, we have talked already in our caucus going forward is we need to get this work done. And there's tools that we all have. We have social media. We can record early. People will want to speak on the issues that are important to them, the chairs and the committees also. But there has been no limit of how long they can speak. I want to make sure that each member feels that they can be heard in the best way that they want to carry that forward. Are we going to handle the no amendments that was part of the agreement? Because they're not conference committee reports, somebody can bring an amendment, right?
right, and we cannot technically enter into an agreement of how we're going to vote or to constrain our members' constitutional rights to bring amendments. It's just we're going to discourage them. I don't think that they will be successful. In order to preserve the agreement, they cannot be successful.
And one thing I wanted to add is that our members, if they have things to say about the bills, they can always come here before the floor and tell you exactly what they think, rather than doing it up on the floor.
Just to play devil's advocate, it says you must conclude by 7 a.m. Tuesday, but this is not a constitutional must. This is an agreement.
This is an agreement.
Technically, you could recess and come back later, right? You don't have to finish and go sign and die by 7 a.m.
In politics, as in life, you are only as good as your word. We have given our word. We have signed our name to that document, and I believe all the people who sign that document intend to live up to their word.
Whether you're done or not.
We will finish.
We'll get the work done.
Time for one more.
On the issue of amendments, 14 bills have you caucused already for both of you?
We have caucused over half of them.
You guys have a grade for yourselves for this session?
Oh, no, that's not.
Do you have a grade for us?
Yeah. You turned in your work late.
Yes.
Not everybody likes most of the stuff. I don't know. C-? What do you think?
I don't think.
The job of the session is to fund state government, and I think there are things in this budget for people to be really happy about. But one of the things I'm most happy about is the automatic increases now we have built in to the E12 system, for example. So prior to 2023, the school districts would have to come down here and battle to get money to bring home. And now it is automatic that they will get an inflationary increase, and it's capped at 3%. So in the next biennium, there's a locked-in more than $1 billion increase. In the biennium after that, there's a locked-in more than $1 billion increase. That is really substantial new investment, additional investment, and that is an area where Democrats and Republicans are really united that we want our school districts to have resources.
I think the other thing that's important is looking at where Minnesota families are with affording their lives too. We wanted to make sure that we weren't just increasing taxes across the board, and that lent to some of the hard decisions that we found ourselves needing to make. But this is the largest spending cut biennium to biennium that we have had, and we're making sure that Minnesota families aren't feeling that initial pressure from the state.
Last question right there.
Thank you. You mentioned that you can't truly prohibit your members from adding amendments, but assuming this agreement holds, it consolidates a lot of power in the leadership that amendments don't get on unless all 4 caucuses have agreed to them. I'm wondering if you can address that, if you think that that is the way that representative government should function.
All of our members have had a chance to speak to the issues that have come up in their committees. They've been able to author bills. We've got next year that they can continue doing that work. So this isn't an attempt to keep people quiet in any way, but we do have to fund state government, and this is what we're working toward. But members can definitely be heard.
Is there agreement on the tax bill? There was widespread opposition
Yes.
to the tax. There is agreement.
Yes.
And the rest of everybody.
Is it the skinny tax bill?
It is not the skinny tax bill as originally defined.
So it put on a little weight.
It did put on a little weight.
So just to be real clear on that, and then we'll take off. But there were a number of non-controversial items or no cost items that were adopted in the tax conference committee. So there's TIF districts that were extended, and there's a lot of like language things. So anything that the tax conference committee moved that was either low cost or no cost and was not controversial will be in an amendment that will be posted as soon as it's drafted. And we can make sure that that spreadsheet that the leaders signed last night is posted on the sheet where we list all of the drafts. And what we'll keep working to do is make sure that you have a clear link to the hearings on the language, and that you can find the language itself and the spreadsheets.
And there's tax increase in there?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so DFL Representative Melissa Hortman, GOP Representative Lisa Damuth from the House, giving us an update on what is kind of the big news out of the Capitol today, which is the special session has been called. It'll be Monday, and they're just kind of talking through some of those details. The other big story that we're following here in real time is the verdict that is in the Derrick Thompson trial. Amber, how did you want to handle this? I can just read what I have, or...
Yeah, let's kind of go through what we know so far. It sounds like the jury might still be in the courtroom. We're waiting to hear reaction after this, but Derrick Thompson just found guilty on all counts, 15 counts.
Okay, yep, including third-degree murder. This again stemming from the June 2023 deadly crash that killed five young women between the ages of 17 and 20. Thompson's defense, of course, claimed here kind of in the 11th hour at the end of the trial that Thompson's brother was actually the one behind the wheel of the SUV when that crash happened. Thompson's brother testified, said that was not true. The jury has been in deliberation since what, yesterday?
11:15 in the morning.
Yep. Yesterday morning, 11:15, and then took over again, or pick things back up at about 11 o'clock again this morning. So, so guilty on all counts, and a fairly quick deliberation there as well. Which it was a, you know, relatively speaking, a pretty swift trial as well, with the defense not even calling any witnesses to the stand. Okay.
I am hearing, Amy, our photojournalist Sean Skinner. What is his new title? He just got promoted.
I think he's director of operations for the newsroom.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Skinner is out there outside of the courthouse watching for reaction, but he actually just moved to the Hennepin County Attorney's Office. So I believe that is where we're expecting to hear response, and it sounds like possibly from the attorney herself, Mary Moriarty. I'm not sure.
So Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty, possibly, or someone from her office, right? Speaking
potentially.
Okay.
Potentially, yeah. So we've got a camera there. In the meantime, I don't know if we're going to hear from anybody else in the very near future. It sounds like the jury is still deliberating a number of questions in the courtroom there. So it sounds like they're going to be talking until 4:30 is what I'm told. If they can't reach an agreement on these questions, they're going to have to come back another time. So,
okay. I wonder what kind of, because the verdict is in, so it's not having to do with obviously the verdict.
Likely sentencing would be my guess.
Maybe, or
but I don't know that for certain.
Could be some other kind of instructions or something. Okay. All right. And so there's nobody posted outside the courthouse, and we don't anticipate hearing from anybody there. All right. Sounds good. Okay. What is the plan? What would you like to do?
Well, I think that's gonna about do it for us.
I think
live
so.
Events
I think so.
Wrapped
I think
up
we
after
are
3+ hours.
I mean, I think we got everything in. So we saw a special session Monday. Thompson verdict in, guilty on all counts. The search continues for Manny Collins. Now investigators right now, as we speak, are in a landfill in the Elk River, Elk River, in that area, looking for any clues to bring them just one step closer to finding Manny. All right, all of these stories and much more coming up tonight, and very shortly, actually, and just a couple of hours here on Fox 9 News at 5. Of course, check our website. Always, they have everything up already. Everything's already updated. You can find the stuff there.
Read a lot more about the Thompson case if you're not familiar with this. So there's also a really in-depth, great reporting. One really quick thing. If you get a chance to find it, look it up. We had a really interesting interview today with former Homeland Security. He was, I can't remember what he did exactly for Homeland Security. I think he was anyway, doesn't matter. He was with them for 20 years, also had a lot of experience with ICE, and he was able to take a look at what happened on Tuesday in Minneapolis with what people thought might have been an ICE raid, turned out to be executing search warrants. And he was able to kind of take a look at that video, that time frame, and tell us if what was happening he thought was following protocol, and if there's anything that could have been done differently or should have been done differently. If you want to check that out on our website, Jim, I can't remember. Hayes, I believe.
Hayes, yes, Jim Hayes.
Sorry, I'm multitasking.
Nope, you got a lot going on. Okay, all right, let's call it a day, and we'll see you back here on Monday. But again, all of these headlines, much more coming up for you.
And then tower cams, Hannah.
Thanks, Hannah.
Thanks, Hannah.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Hannah's been working overtime
I know.
today.
Thank you, Hannah. Really appreciate you. Have a great weekend, everybody.